This podcast is a part of the Podmania podcasting network. Check out podmania.co.uk to check out more of our great podcasts, features, reviews, match ratings and previews spanning the crazy and diverse world of professional wrestling. Hello guys, and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world-wondering Stardom, right here on the Podmania podcast. I am your host, Rob Gooden. I'm joined as ever by Chris O'Brien. Chris, how the fuck are you?
I say a lot of stupid things on this podcast, Rob, on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah.
But nothing has ever been quite as controversial as me saying that I don't like Rumbles.
Have you been called out on your wild claims during the last podcast?
By one fucking person who will remain nameless, Falkit. You don't like Rumble? Stop booing me. Apparently the Shrek gif I used didn't get the message across. Fight me. They're bad. They're objectively not good matches.
I don't know what you're talking about. I thought the All-Star Rumble was an absolute delight.
No, you didn't. Don't fucking lie to me. Do you kiss your mother with that lying whore mouth? Jesus
Christ, Chris. Jesus. Calm the fuck down. Who put 50p in you today? Good grief. Apart from, obviously, people hating you for your lack of Rumble love, which, believe me, guys, we will be getting into over the next, what probably feels like about 3 hours. But apart from that, Chris, how have you been this week?
I'm okay. The Bret Res continues to die, and that makes me sad, but also it makes sense because it made its own grave. There's been some bloody good wrestling. My match of the year thread on Twitter is up to about 50 matches. Well, more than 50 matches.
Which, I'll be honest, is quite impressive when you consider that I don't think I've seen 50 matches this year. Never mind put together a thread of best matches which exceeds 50 matches.
Yeah, and they all have pictures. It's a very, aesthetically pleasing thread to look through. You shouldn't read it, because I'm sure there's a ton of spelling and grammar errors, because I just put it up in the excitement right after watching a good match. There's some high ratings I regret, because in hindsight, I don't like Okada vs. Ospreay as much as I said I did. I'm not sure Naito vs. Ibushi would make the list. I could have put more Ring of Honor stuff on there, but I'm enjoying. I think it's a really good list that people should bookmark.
Are you saying, shock of the day, Chris is not a fan of Okada? Is that what you're saying?
But here's the thing: it's not that I'm not a fan of Okada; it's that his current output has understandably not been very good because they've been him, Naito, and Hiromu have been working basically held together by fucking duct tape, and we don't give them time off.
It has come back to bite them somewhat with the Hiromu injury.
And Naito is working her. We know this. He's perpetually working her. And it's the thing of, I understand they probably went, no, don't give me time off. But that's because that's how fucking wrestlers' brains work. They should not get to decide whether or not they go out. This is why you have doctors at ringside. It's actually ridiculous. It's like WWE level bullshit, that stuff.
You've seen wrestlers, right? They should not be entrusted with anything.
They should not be entrusted with their own fucking health. Because at the end of the day, there are people who fall over for a living, right? That's what they are. They should not be entrusted with their own health.
One of mine and Chris's favourite wrestlers is Kurt Angle, and we've just done a watch-along of WrestleMania 19.
We cannot justify a Kurt Angle wrestling for as long as he did.
Jesus.
At all.
And I was listening to his podcast, and it seems that every show they do, they've just done No Way Out 2001, followed by No Way Out 2006. And
he breaks his neck in every fucking match.
It just feels like every podcast he's broken his neck again, and it's like, Jesus, Kurt, stop.
In the tail end of his TNA run, he developed a tumour on his neck, and he kept going.
The man is a machine.
He is, and on one hand, is admirable, but on the other hand, look at him now. And that's what Okada's going to be if they don't give him like a year and a half off.
He needs time. If he's working with two discs in his back that are fucked?
Like, the same thing's happened to so many people. Like, Kenta Kobashi had to get emergency shoulder surgery on both shoulders.
Unreal.
It's ridiculous.
Oh my god.
Give the man time off. You'll be fine. We should have given him time off. We should have given him time off when we didn't have to fucking draw. We didn't have to draw. Why fucking make him wrestle? Ridiculous stuff.
Just ridiculous. I'm sure we could do an entire podcast about just everything that is going on in New Japan at the moment.
Stardom did the same. But does the same because wasn't May working hurt for most of last year?
May was working hurt for a long time, and she got two shows off.
And so was Arisa, and as soon as she got time off, she was told not to wrestle again.
I miss Arisa, man.
I really miss Arisa.
Anyway, we are a Stardom podcast, so let's get into it, because this has been one of the most exciting weeks to be a Stardom fan, to follow the promotion, because the buzz that is currently around this promotion at the moment, and I've said this on Twitter and I said it in the Discord as well, this promotion at the moment feels fucking massive. And that, of course, is on the back of an absolutely tremendous All-Star Dream Cinderella show at Budokan, which, of course, is the main focus of this podcast, and we are going to be delving really deeply into and looking at all the matches and giving our thoughts, our ratings, our predictions for what is next, as well as looking at some listener questions as well interspersed throughout. But before we get to that, there's just a couple of bits of news, and I'm sure I've missed little bits of news from around the Stardom-verse, but I've been that excited to do this podcast and focus on Budokan that I probably have missed them, so I apologise for that. But on the 6th of March, so earlier this morning, there was an Assemble show, which of course is the sort of collective shows that Joshi Promotions run together. And it turns out, according to Akira Hakuto on Twitter, that this very probably is going to be the last one, and this was brought to our attention on Discord. Just to give you an indication, the Stardom participation in this match was apparently the semi-main, and it was the Stardom match between Starlight Kid and Mayu Iwatani and Momo Watanabe and Azumi, which, you know, you look at that match and any Stardom fan is going to go, fucking hell, that's going to be a tasty match, even with very little stakes. Other notable matches, the seedling match was Nene Takahashi and Honori Hana, who of course challenged Saya Rida earlier on this month, versus Arisa Nakajima and Riko Kaiju. And then the Wave 4-Way, which main evented. Chris, if this does turn out to be the last Assemble show, how do you feel about that? Have you watched any of the Assemble shows? What are your thoughts on it?
The Assemble shows are things that are perpetually on my I'll get round to them list, and then more wrestling happens.
Yeah, no, I get that.
The venue they've been using looks really fucking cool. Like, it's the show itself is like on a stage. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, if it's the end of it, that's kind of sad because they're nice 3 shows. But like, they were one of the main purpose of them to like help get Joshi Promotions back on their feet after lockdown stopped. So that makes sense, I guess. It's a shame, like, because like, it just means less shows for people to consume. But also, I don't know. I struggled to put emotions on it because I never watched it, but I know a few people really like them, so it's a bit of a shame that they're ending.
It's a nice way, especially to get into other Joshi promotions. If you are just a person who consumes Stardom like I do, I don't really dip into any other Joshi promotion unless Stardom are featured. It's a nice way to, you know, get introduced to some of these other wrestlers. The venue that you're talking about, Chris, and I'm really sorry if I butcher the pronunciation of this, it was Ueno Onshi Park, the outdoor stage, and it was in front of 384 people.
It looks like a bit like the auditorium you have in like Princess Park in Edinburgh is quite cool.
I've seen one of the images from it. I think it was a picture of Starlight and Momo, and I saw a picture of like the stands, the bleachers, if you will. And yeah, it did look quite cool. I think Stardom should run places like that. I think it'd look really cool, especially once the coronavirus has sort of faded into obscurity, which hopefully is on the horizon.
That's one of my favorite things about Japanese wrestling is the different buildings. Like you can tell
Absolutely, yeah.
Like you look at and like American wrestling and plenty of other places like it, like that by design because you're trying to create a uniform weekly show, so you sort of make everything look as similar as possible, unless you're in somewhere like Madison Square Garden or Full Sail or something. But then, in Japanese wrestling, like you have like Korakuen Hall, you have Shinkiba, you have, and it's sort of the same in Lucha. We have a lot of different buildings. It just gives each show its own personality. Like we spent most of the podcast, 2-3 weeks ago, talking about KPS Hall in Kyoto, which is, to be fair, a sexy building.
It is a very sexy building. It is a really, really sexy building.
Yeah, but maybe the sexiest building.
Sexier than... Oh, yeah, actually, that's a good point. I don't think there are many sexy buildings.
Like, Sumo Hall looks nice in sort of a classy way,
Hmm.
but, you know, I'm not a classy person.
Oh, you're not. You're not. You're a dirty tramp, is what you are.
Oh, wow. I was only hinting at degeneracy there. You didn't have to, like, call me a tramp. Jesus. I will not be slut-shamed on this podcast.
Again. Anyway, let's move on. Some news regarding the Hanakimura tribute show. It's going to be called See You Again. It is taking place on the 23rd of May, 2021, from Korakuen. And it is going to feature a match including Kagetsu, which is going to be really nice. Apparently, and this has been made very, very clear, this is a one-time thing. This is not a return to wrestling. This is a one-time thing for Kagetsu. She's returning for this show. And then Kyoko and Vinita will announce more on their upcoming Battlemen appearance. So, Chris, so far, obviously, we haven't got much of a card. Some people I've seen have asked, well, where's the Stardom participation? What are Stardom going to do? What wrestlers are we going to have? But someone on our Discord, and I think it's Niagara Driver, has actually mentioned that Stardom might have already done something in terms of that show in giving them one of their Korakuen slots. And it would make sense. It's a weekend show, as they say, which is apparently quite difficult to come by. So it's certainly possible, certainly not confirmed, but it's certainly possible that Stardom have given a Korakuen date or one of their Korakuen dates for this show. And if that's the case, that's tremendous.
Right, if that's the case, that is good. But I still think if the talent's not doing anything anyway, I think letting a couple of them appear on the show wouldn't actually do any harm.
I would be amazed, Chris, if there isn't Stardom participation on this card, especially when you consider there was controversy. Let's try that again. There was controversy around how Bushiroad in particular dealt with this. And I feel like there is a lot that was left to be desired in how they dealt with it. So Stardom participation on this card is quite literally the least they could do, I feel.
Mm-hmm. But also it's Bushiroad, so like they sometimes don't even do the least they can do. We don't even give their wrestlers time off. So.
That's true. Kidani did release an apology, but, you know, essentially apologies are only words until they're followed up by action. So we will wait and see, and I'm sure obviously more news of that show will be announced in the coming weeks. What do you think about Kagetsu then coming out of retirement for this one show?
I think that's a very touching move. And I'm excited to see Kagetsu. Of course, yeah, she's great. I like that it gets more eyes on this tribute show.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
I'm happy that they're making it a one-time thing instead of a yearly thing. Because in some ways, social media, like especially social media, just needs to let Hannah rest. Like you sometimes see them, you sort of see Hannah brought up a lot at times when it's especially not appropriate to do so.
Yeah,
if you know, like every time, like I'll see someone just give a bit of criticism of a match, and someone goes, "Has we not learned from Hannah?" And it's like she is not a empty symbol you can bring up every time you don't like what someone said.
No, I understand what you're saying with that. I think she was so special to so many people that the death of Hanakimura shook so many people, like a ridiculous amount of people. I mean, personally, I've never been affected by a wrestler's death as much as I was affected by Hanakimura's death, because she was so young, it was so avoidable. But you are right, we need to be very careful where we use this. If it can be used to do good, which it absolutely should do, especially in regards to social media, tremendous. However, we've got to tread that line between, using it for fucking everything and using it where she can be used as a wonderful thing, used as not a lesson, but effectively a lesson in what can happen if, we are cunts on social media, which some people are.
Because the only ongoing tribute show I can think of is Baba, but like Baba's sort of godlike. Like when he died, I think MOTYC compared him to Michael Jackson. Not in that way.
Odd comparison.
No,
Does he also own a weird theme park?
No, I think in more actually, it wouldn't surprise. Like Baba seems fun-loving. And more in terms of like how big he was, how like inescapable he was in Japan. So like it makes sense for something like that to be a yearly thing. But with Hana, I hope this show can just sort of let her rest at that point, because like we couldn't really have a proper tribute show last year because of the circumstances. So I think this is the perfect way to do it. I
just wanted to clarify that it's Kagetsu's appearance that is a one-time thing. Whether this is a yearly thing or not, I don't know. I understand.
I've heard they're only planning on making it a one. Like this is complete conjecture, but I'm half remembering.
If it's going to be, there are arguments on both sides. A yearly memorial show, we are constantly reminded of the greatness that was Hanakimura, that is Hanakimura. However, that one-time show is... I can see the positives, definitely. We'll wait and see. I'm sure, like I say, more will be announced, especially, as I said, on that upcoming appearance on Battleman, where I'm sure more will be announced. But yeah, it's going to be really, really good to see Kagetsu again. I miss her massively, and I only saw her for 2 matches. So, I've watched more going back, but I only saw her in Stardom for 2 matches, which is a shame, a real shame. Especially as Kagetsu was in the crowd for the All-Star Dream Cinderella show at Budokan, but didn't feel comfortable or didn't feel like she would be okay to go backstage. That's a heart-wrenching story. Sent flowers backstage, which was amazing, but to think that she wouldn't be welcomed or it wouldn't be appropriate for her to go to backstage it really does speak volumes about how she left last year, doesn't it, really?
Have you seen her match with Meiko Satomura?
I don't think I have, no.
It was one of her last matches, and it's very good. Very, very good.
Was it one of your matches of the year? Is it one of your 50,000 matches of the year?
It did make my thread last year.
Of course it fucking did.
But it's a very good match, and it's just a very good match. I just thought I'd bring it up since you haven't seen it, and you also have a passing knowledge of Meiko Satomura.
I do. It's very passing, but yes, I do. You're absolutely right. So, let's get into some Stardom results. Now, I'm going to be brutally honest. The 2 shows from Nagoya, the Stardom World has been very, very slow in uploading them. A lot of their efforts have been focused on this show at Budokan, so, it's quite understandable. But as of yesterday, the 28th show hadn't been uploaded, or at least it hadn't been for me, all of it anyway. So I'm just going to read through the results, because let's face it, you are here to listen to our review of All-Star Cinderella. So we'll read through these results from the shows on the 27th and the 28th, Chris, and then if you've got anything to say about the 2 main events, then feel free. So Stardom Nagoya 2 days, night 1 from the 27th of February from Nagoya International Conference Hall in front of 267 people. We had Tam Nakano defeating Go-Kick and Death. A 3-way elimination 9-woman tag match with the Queen's Quest team of Azumi, Momo and Saya defeat Pomi defeating Donna Del Mondo's team of Himika, Maika, and Natsupoi, and Oida Tai's team of Konami, Natsukatora, and Saki Kashima. Singles match with Utami defeating Ruaka, followed by a singles match with Mayu defeating Lady C, B. Priestley defeating Starlight Kid, Syuri defeating Unagi in the final match of Unagi's 7-match series, which means that in that series she did go 0-7. And then finally a singles match, which Cage Match is billing New Generation's 5-match series first match, with Julia defeating Saya Iida at 13 minutes and 12 seconds. Chris, just wanted to ask you about this New Generation's 5-match series.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, that's all right then. I've got a feeling from the card that I've seen that it's going to be basically Julia taking on the rookies?
The rookie, okay.
I have a feeling.
So maybe this is just to demonstrate, spoilers, the difference between Bold Julia and Hair Julia, because here she kind of struggled against Iida, a bit more back and forth than you would expect. But Bold Julia, just going to kill them. She's going to bring a knife to the ring.
Julia's
you ever seen Trainspotting?
Kill you.
You ever seen Trainspotting? You know the Mad Cunt? She's going to be the Mad Cunt.
Wow, Julia Mad Cunt.
Mad Cunt Julia. No cunt leaves here till we find out who shaved my
hair. We move on then to night 2, which was the 28th of February. Same place, Nagoya International Conference Hall, in front of 326 people, and the card and results are as follows. Ruaka defeated Lady C in 4 minutes and 19 seconds in only her second win of the year. Starlight Kid defeated Maika and Saya Iida. In a tag team match, the Oida Tai team of B. Priestley and Konami defeated the Donna Del Mondo team of Himika and Natsupoi. In a tag team match, Natsukatora and Saki Kashima defeated Stars, Gokikin Death, and Mayu Iwatani. Donna Del Mondo, Julia, and Syuri defeated the Cosmic Angel teams of Tam and Unagi. And then the main event, we had a Queen's Quest Civil War match with Momo Watanabe and Utami Hayashishita defeating Azumi and Saya Kamitani. Chris, have you got anything you'd like to add in terms of those two shows?
I'm glad that these two shows built up Budokan more than like the other shows we were watching. They did a bit more. They placed things a bit better. Saya versus Julia was very good. I only just missed out on my match of the year thread for me. Iida is getting so much better, so much fast.
Yeah,
so much better, so much fast. Words. I enjoyed Unagi. I've overall enjoyed Unagi's 7-match series, although she definitely has taken on a formula. And I get that, but I wish I could have seen more variety in that sense. And B versus Starlight was a fun rematch in terms of the other day. They were fun tag matches, but like nothing you've not seen before. Like the second show especially, just for Stardom completionists.
Fair enough. Well, Chris, it's time. Let's move on to the All-Star Dream Cinderella show. Stardom and Joshi, should I say, Joshi's return to Nippon Budokan, the first time since August 1997. And 3,318 people were in Budokan for this show, which outdrew New Japan's anniversary show the following night with only 3,026 people appearing. Chris, what do you think is the impact? What do you think this message is sending out that Stardom were able to outdraw New Japan at Budokan?
Well, I think in terms of like reasoning, I think there's two main reasons. One is New Japan's been running Budokan a bit more than usual recently, so you sort of see it with like I think TJP compared to Stardom, where they outdraw Stardom at Korakuen, but only because we don't run Korakuen as much, so it's more of like a novelty to go see them there. And secondly, because New Japan right now it's dog shit.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's dog shit. I don't harbour anywhere near as much hatred to the promotion as you do. I think this is no offence to El Desperado. I am a huge El Desperado fan. And yes, it was a good match. I meant to tell you that I watched it. It's a very, very good match. Despi's fantastic. And I think him being the junior champion...
And Ibushi And Ibushi actually tried to the leg selling for once in his fucking life.
The problem is, he's not Hiromu. And I'm not saying that this is the sole reason. I am not saying this is the sole reason, or even a huge reason. But if you're going, or if you've got a match that is Ibushi versus Hiromu, which, let's face it, is a dream match, and you instead are given Ibushi and Desperado, which is still a great match.
It could have been much, much worse, right? It could have been Phantasmo.
Exactly. People should be grateful. It could have been Bushi.
I'd have taken that.
You wouldn't.
For the memes, I would have taken. I wouldn't have fucking watched it, but
I'm surprised you watched it anyway. To be fair.
Oh, I just got because I kept hearing people going on about how the last few shows were good. I watched the main matches; they were fine. I skipped Okada versus Evil, which is probably the best for both my mental health and Rob's WhatsApp.
So taking the obviously outdrawing New Japan, which was one of the huge news stories coming out of this, what do you think of this as an attendance? 3,318 people. I mean, we spoke about this on previous podcasts about what Stardom would look to draw here. And we weren't sure what a good number would be. I think we both said if it's somewhere between 2,500 and 3,000, looking more towards 3,000, then I imagine Stardom are going to be happy. But to exceed that and get as many people as they did, and there's talk of, there could have been more. For me, that sounds like a really, really fantastic achievement for Stardom.
Yeah. I'm looking at what Noah drew. They drew 5,000, and that's with Keiji Muto in the main event.
The show from the 12th?
Yeah. So, I think that's a decent number, not ton, well, I say not a ton, it's a quarter less for Noah. 1,000 people less, but at the same time, that's not too bad. That's not bad at all. If they'd just drawn that to Sumo Hall or something, I don't think we'd be all that mad. Which is what we said they were going to be aiming for. Budokan was basically be the size of what we do if they were running Sumo Hall. So yeah. I think overall that's pretty good. That's a healthy number. It's definitely not a failure of a number. I don't think anyone can remotely claim that. Drawing out the three main events of actually, how much did we draw for Super Juniors New Japan? I'm going to have a look at that right now. Super Juniors drew just a shade more, and that was the end of two big tournaments. Well, I say that one big tournament and Tag League. So yeah, that's a really healthy number for Stardom, and it shows potential going out of this. And on an international basis, I've never seen more people talk about Stardom on Twitter.
That was a big thing. I noticed. Now, obviously, this is Stardom's biggest show ever. We had big shows last year. We had the Sendai Cinderella show. We had the Yokohama Cinderella show. Before. They've run Sumo Hall before, have they?
Yeah.
Have they?
Yeah.
Fair enough. They haven't run Budokan before.
No, Sumo Hall.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Budokan. I'm sorry.
God's sake.
But I've never seen people talk as much about Stardom as they have in the follow-up of this show. There's so much buzz, and I said this at the top of the show, there's so much buzz about this promotion because of this show, and we were always quietly hopeful that this was going to be a fantastic show. You look at the card and up and down, you knew there was going to be blow-away matches. But even the matches that we weren't necessarily conscious of, not necessarily worried about, but
conscious of.
Yeah, not necessarily that we were worried about, but matches that we thought, really for Budokan? Okay, they knocked it out of the park. There was not on the main card. There was not a bad. I'm not classing the Rumble, so can calm down, Chris.
You could hear me about.
I could hear your inhale of breath. That's what it was. Calm yourself, boy. On the main card, there was not a bad match. And actually, if we look at the prologue fights, we look at the high-speed title match, fantastic. The Goddess of Stardom tag match did a job. It was good. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't blow away. It was good.
It was serviceable.
It was good.
If it was chants, they'd be chanting, "This is all right."
Yeah. This is about what we expect. So, and actually, to be fair, I thought it was better than I thought it was going to be because they've done, so far, they're in the process of doing a good job rehabbing Tora, and I thought she looked good here. But let's kick straight into this then. So, the first two fights were actually broadcast live on YouTube as well as on Samurai TV. We've got Japanese commentary, which was amazing. We had guest appearances from Fuka, who obviously is one of the co-founders of Stardom, and we had Akira Hokuto, which was nice as well. Milano Collection AT was on commentary, which was fantastic.
We say Hokuto differently.
How do you say it, Hokuto?
Yeah, I say Akira Hokuto.
And I say Hokuto.
Yeah.
I don't think it particularly matters, Chris. I'm pretty sure they know we're on about the same fucking person. If I called her Boris Hokuto, I'm pretty sure people would be confused.
Well, why would you call her Boris?
Well, does it fucking matter?
Yeah, don't call her Boris.
We open then with the first fight, the first prologue fight, the high-speed championship match, with Natsupoi defeating the champion Azumi in a fifth defense at 7 minutes and 41 seconds with a cross-arm suplex. Chris, what did you think about this as an opener?
It was basically a perfect opener because it's fun, it's frantic. It's basically what the X Division was to TNA back in 2005, only the show afterwards delivered. Like really fast paced. Azumi came out looking like a fucking Valkyrie. Natsupoi came out looking the same, but she had a stick, and I like the stick. The match itself was like fast, frantic, and high-speed matches, as a general rule, kind of just bang. Like it's hard to go wrong with them unless you have someone who can't keep up. But like these two are probably the fastest people in. Do you ever watch like people play Super Smash Bros, or have you yourself ever played Super Smash Bros?
Yeah, once or twice.
Have you ever had a match in Super Smash Bros where Sonic versus Sonic?
No, I haven't. But I can sort of see where this is going.
It was basically that. Because, like, they were just kind of running around each other trying to hit bombs. Like, it wasn't scientific more than it was just fast. And it was fun. I really enjoyed it.
It was. It was a really, really fun opener, and it was the exact same thought that they had with opening the Yokohama Cinderella show with Azumi versus Starlight. I still preferred that match, but this was fantastic. Azumi came out in new gear, which made her look like a fucking rock star. She is. There's so many big things coming for Azumi, and it's the same feeling I get about Micah. She's going places, Azumi. She's 18 years old, and she feels like an absolute boss.
I was never this good at anything at 18 years old.
These two, though, Azumi and Natsupoi, have got outstanding chemistry, and it shows from the start. That opening exchange was fantastic. Both women exchanging and reversing signature offense. When was the last time we saw someone take Azumi off of the top rope as she goes for the missile dropkick, where she jumps from one rope to the next and hits the missile dropkick? I don't think I've ever seen that reverse, so that was a really, really, really nice point. I really enjoyed that. We then had a period of Azumi basically just dominating. That double stomp from the top rope to the floor, it always looks really painful. I can't imagine how painful that must be to take, but it looked cool from an outsider's point of view. Azumi dominated, like I say. When Natsupoi came back, selling the arm, which was good. We've seen before about how, we've talked before about how Natsupoi is a really good seller. But Azumi kicks out of fucking everything. We had German suplexes, we had the backlash, we had the rounding body press, we had literally everything. Azumi kicks out of everything. Natsupoi decided that the German suplex that put away the likes of Saki Kashima wasn't enough to just hit one, so she hits 3 no-release ones, channeling her inner Chris Benoit, which was fucking great. But Azumi still kicked out. She's buoyed by this, or poyed by this. No?
That was worse than the Rumble.
But she hits, and I called it a straight jacket suplex. I assume it's the same thing. I don't think it particularly matters, to be perfectly honest. But considering how horrid Natsupoi's booking was throughout the build-up to this show. She looked great here, thoroughly deserved the championship, and I cannot wait to see the inevitable Natsupoi versus Starlight match that must be on the horizon. We got the little bit of respect at the end. Overall, considering this match got 7 minutes, they crammed a lot into 7 minutes, and that's the story of a few of the matches on the card. I thought this was fantastic. And we've actually got a question in regards to this match from Pipao on the Discord, who has said, what's the future for the titleless baby wrestlers Kid and Azumi? In terms of Starlight Kid, I imagine that I think that she will probably be the one to take the title off Natsupoi when we inevitably get that match. You know, spoilers, we have got 3 big shows at least lined up for this year. So, you know, we've got to have Starlight versus Natsupoi at least one of those, and I imagine Starlight takes the belt there. In terms of Azumi, literally the sky's the limit. I'm going to talk a little bit about Azumi later on, but I think there's a chance that she will be the Cinderella tournament winner this year. I think they want to elevate Azumi, and with good reason. She is tremendous, Chris.
I feel like both Kid and Azumi are at the stage where we're going to start elevating them. Because they're both 18, 19, so they both either have graduated or graduated high school at this point. So we're at the point where we're not going to lose them for exams or whatever. So I think there could be some good things coming for them, because they've trialed both of them in the last month in big matches. We both trialed them against the SWA and white belt champs, both of which delivered. They both shown we can put on that big, good Stardom main event. So I see no reason why you just wouldn't push them above the high speed title where they've been. And
sorry, I thought you finished. Go on, carry on.
And then if you can't find anything for them, we know they're good with high speed, so just throw them back in high speed.
That was going to be my question, actually. Do you think now that Azumi's lost the belt, do you see Azumi going back for the belt, or do you think that's the last we'll see of Azumi in the high speed division?
It depends where we can slot them at this point, because at the end of the day, main event is pretty much at capacity.
That is true.
But I can see them like flip-flop in between until they decide to create a sustained push for one of them, because I think both will work good in basically any division you throw them in.
Hopefully we get Natsupoi booked a little bit better than in the lead up to this show, because we spoke last time on our preview show about how poorly Natsupoi's booking had been. So it's nice to see her get the victory here. Nice to see her have a quite dominant closing stretch as well. So fingers crossed she can put on some tremendous matches in the interim. Like I said, I think in terms of the future, Starlight Kid is an absolute must on one of these big shows. Natsupoi versus Starlight Kid is going to be an absolutely tremendous match. I think Natsupoi, we could have matches against the likes of Saki Kashima. I think Natsupoi versus Saki. We've seen it a few times in tag matches, and these two have got fantastic chemistry. So I think those two will be a great match. I think Natsupoi is going to be fine. I think Kid is going to be fine. And I think Azumi has got huge, huge things in line for her. She's 18. Starlight Kid's 20. So they're both ridiculously young. It's quite scary how good they are for how young they are. Prologue match 2 then, we saw the Goddesses of Stardom belts being defended, with the champions, the Donna Del Mondo team of Maika and Himeka, defeat the Oida Tai team of Natsuka Tora and Saki Kashima at 7 minutes and 15 seconds, with a Michinoku driver so snug that I was genuinely concerned for Saki's health. We didn't give our ratings for the Natsupoi Azumi match, so just before I ask you thoughts on that, what did you give it, Chris?
3 3/4.
Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was a great little opener. Again, tremendous chemistry. In terms of this match, Chris, in terms of the Goddesses of Stardom Championships match, what did you think of this match?
It was good. It's a bit weird because both Tora and Saki, like, observably have better chemistry as a tag team than Himeka and Maika do. So it was a bit disappointing not to see them win, to be honest, because they just kind of outshone the champions. They were really good together. It was weird. Like Tora came out in like this new gear, and then Saki came out looking like she just watched The Matrix for the first time. Like I think everyone knew that kid in school who would try to wear like a big leather coat to try and look cool, and then like we laughed at that kid because they're not cool.
Were you that kid?
No, why do I imagine? Can you really imagine me in anything but a fucking hoodie?
I think a hoodie and a full-length leather jacket, I think you'd look well cool, Chris.
You think I'd look cool, would you? Like, with long hair and a beard, I'd look like the fucking dude from Yu-Gi-Oh! Who ran the local Yu-Gi-Oh! Club who can't go near children anymore. Who I ran into at an ICW show, and I had to pretend not to have heard the allegations. It was a time.
Bringing you back to this match, Chris.
So yeah,
I think did we get there?
I think Saki Kashima would be very good at Yu-Gi-Oh! No, this match was good. This match was fine. This match was serviceable. I have no real complaints. I have no real criticisms either. It was kind of just there for me, especially at its length. But in its length, they crammed enough in of the new gear look cool, I guess. But otherwise, it was just fine. And I kind of wish the Oedetai won the belts here just so we'd have something. But otherwise, yeah, it was fine.
Pardon me. It certainly would have been something to fight for in this Stars and Oedetai war, but we can talk about that later on because I think we've got something coming. In terms of Donna Del Mondo, I thought both women looked tremendous in their new gear. Maika especially, that gold and black gear was incredible. A lot of heat on Maika in this match. I mean, if you look back on this match, Himika spends very little time in that ring. It is almost all Maika. I thought Tora and Saki looked great. I had real Kagetsu vibes from Tora, and I don't know why. The gear wasn't particularly Kagetsu-ish. I just really did. I don't know why. Tremendous chemistry. Like I say, the match was finished off with a fucking snug Michinoku driver from Maika. Poor Saki. But yeah, overall, it did what it set out to do. It was a solid match. With very little build, to be fair, you're not going to get a massively great match. And I think they did what they could with it. 7 minutes and 15 seconds. They did enough. I gave it 3 stars, Chris.
Yeah, I give it 2 and 3/4. It was good.
It was. In the interim of the prologue and the main card, we had some videos of congratulations from Io Shirai, which was fantastic. Really long, she clearly cares a lot about this company, which is amazing. We had one from Hiroshi.
She went out her way to find a nice backdrop. It was all mixed very well. It's very clearly done on a nice camera.
Yeah, it was.
Taking notes, Kairi.
Yeah, Kairi had done it in a travel lodge. Tanahashi, which I thought was that was a really, really classy touch.
Even on Stardom, I can't escape stupid, sexy Tanahashi.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
Stupid, sexy Tana.
Have you seen that picture of him in like just an apron? Oh my god, he is.
Right. Calm down.
Especially for his age. Jesus Christ.
Calm yourself.
What a man. What a man.
And of course, lastly, Kairi Sane. So Ringside News would have reported that Kairi Sane and Tanahashi appeared at the show. Yeah,
debut.
Exactly. Makes his Stardom debut. But no, I thought they were really nice touches, really classy touches. And yeah, with that, we move into the main card. We opened with the All-Star Rumble, with Unagi Sayaka winning the 25-person All-Star Rumble by last eliminating Yuzuki Aikawa at 35 minutes and 1 second. Now, Chris, I'm going to ask you just to calm yourself for a second. Okay, because I know that you have thoughts on this, and I know that you are angry. I can feel your fucking anger, so just calm yourself. Okay? I know. Overall, this wasn't great. And do you know what? There were bits that were really good. And basically, the bits that were really good centered around Nagao. She came in, she was given loads of respect. I thought the bits with Kyoko and Noe was great. The power...
Sakura.
Yeah, there were great bits. I genuinely quite enjoyed the Wakizawa bits. Despite the fact that I'm not entirely sure what was in the ambulance. In fact, my note was... Let me see if I can find my note on... Here we go. Wakizawa... No, that's not it. That's not it. There's one where I'm like, this is not a sentence I thought I'd ever fucking say. Where is it? I'll find it in a minute. I'm sure it's not going to be that important, to be perfectly honest. Ruaka came to the ring looking like literally Natsuko Tora's mini-me. I don't think she could have looked any more Tora-ish than she did then. We got Mina Shirakawa re-debuting after her injury. I thought she actually looked really, really good here. Here we go. I've got it. Right. This is a sentence. This is what actually happened during this show. And just think about whether this is a sentence or not that you would actually say out loud. Wakizawa then hits a freaking Frankensteiner on Emi Sakura on what looks like small brown biscuits that Matsumoto has emptied out of the bus Mayu was carrying. What the fuck is that? What happened in this match? Unfortunately, for all the bits of pageantry towards the legends, which was, a really, really nice touch, and the small chances that people had to express their characters, it went on a fucking long time. 35 minutes is a long time for this thing to go, and you were exhausted at the end of it, really. I mean, you look at Aikawa. I thought Aikawa looked pretty good. She's the proto-Cosmic Angel. I mean, she could almost be the manager of Cosmic Angels. She was Cosmic Angels before Cosmic Angels was cool. And then...
Don't lie, Cosmic Angels was never cool.
And then I'm just going to mention this entrant because then I'm going to wind Chris up and let him go like one of those small toys. Entrant 25, the last entrant, was Kikutaro. And go, Chris.
Okay, so I'm going to first say, because otherwise some loudmouth little shits are going to talk about how, I just hate Rumbles, which I do. But there were fun moments in this. I like when Emi Sakura came out with literally all of her roster. Like, literally all of them. Like, you get a payday. And you get a payday.
All of Gato Move came out, which is amazing.
Yeah. And apparently she didn't ask for permission, but surely when she's standing at, like, Gorilla and, like, all of them are there, someone has to question what she's doing.
Are you all in the Rumble?
Like, I'm sure they just didn't care enough about the Rumble and just were like, yeah, we're probably in the Rumble. I liked when the exchange between her and Lady C, where she was just copying her. I found that quite funny. I liked the Cosmic Angels being back together. That was kind of sweet. But kick it out. Like, in a Rumble that's meant to be a celebration of women's wrestling throughout the decades, one of the longest and most highlighted spots in the whole thing was some doll sexually assaulting people. Literally. That's literally what it was. That's a strange choice. That's a very strange choice for a celebration of women's wrestling. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone tuned in thinking I've heard a lot of buzz around the Stardom thing and then tuned out as soon as that happened, because it would, like, if Garth watched this, it would just absolutely back up all his unfounded thoughts on what Joshi is. And I hate it. I hate it so much. It's disgusting. Mm-hmm. Well, not disgusting, but, like, it's just awful and bad. And, like, there's nothing. They can't have possibly looked at this and thought there was any remotely, like, because it wasn't even funny. It was like when fucking Santina Morella came out in the fucking Rumble. Nobody enjoyed that. Nobody actually enjoyed that. It's not funny. Like, and I saw people on Twitter going, "Oh, you people clearly don't know who he is," and I know who he is, and, like, he can be funny. This wasn't funny. This wasn't a good place for his fucking humor. It was bad. It made for one really bad match on the show. Everything else was at least good. I say at least good. Everything after this was great. Everything after this is on my Match of the Year thread on Twitter. But oh my god, it's almost not worth it having to sit through that fucking segment. The rest of the Rumble was fine. It was a fan-pleasing romp through Joshi history. If it wasn't for the fucking if it wasn't for that fucking spot, I would not even be saying much about this Rumble. I'd just be saying the things I enjoyed and then reiterating that Rumbles aren't for me.
I listed the entrance, and I just wanted to draw your attention to the note before I carry on. So, entrant 25, Kikutaro. I popped for this. I used to hate Kikutaro, and I can't remember why. And then there's 2 more paragraphs, and then my next paragraph starts with, then comes the fucking batshit insane part of the Rumble, which made me instantly remember the reason I hate Kikutaro. Why?
I like comedy wrestling. I really do. I've been putting over a match between 2 books for the past week. But this isn't funny. And I'm trying to think of because there was good comedy in this match. Again, basically everything Emi Sakura did had me fucking creasing myself.
Oh, she was the MVP of this match. 100%.
Oh, Emi Sakura.
Yes.
She's so good.
She was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Again, it's just the Lady C spot where she's just copying Lady C's mannerisms and Lady C's just looking at her like, what the fuck are you doing?
What is going on here?
I'm trying to get over here. But then Kikutaro. And it wasn't even a small part of a Rumble. It was a good couple minutes of the Rumble. He was doing his shit.
Yeah, it was an uncomfortably long amount of time.
Yeah. And just, I don't understand the thought going in behind it, at all. And I'm sure someone's going to tell me I'm taking it out of proportion, and maybe I am. But imagine if you're a first-time Stardom viewer, and half of you is like, "Oh, I really, I've had a lot of buzz about this," but the other half of you is like, "I've seen the gifs of weird Joshi things on Twitter, from Jim Cornette or whoever, and saying I should never go watch it." This isn't literally, that's the only thing that that and the length are the only thing that dragged this match into bad for me. I'm not going to rate it. I don't rate Rumbles. But it's bad, and I wouldn't recommend this even in the background because it just makes it actively bad. The last 10 minutes of this Rumble just could have been cut, and I wouldn't be complaining.
If you cut the Kikutaro spot, if you cut all of that out, it's an alright Rumble. Like you said, I think you said it was a fun romp through Joshi history. That's the perfect way of describing it.
Well, that's the perfect way of describing the first 20-something minutes of it.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I thought it was nice that especially people like Nagao and Inoue get the respect that they deserved. I thought Momo Nakanishi was low-key really good as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the final 4 were...
B. Priestley has a loudmouth Gaijin, but Gaijin? I'm getting words mixed up. B. Priestley has a loudmouth Gaijin, did a job really well.
Yeah.
Yuna Manas managed to not make me dislike her, which is rare for a Yuna Manas match. And I know I'm in the minority there. And Unagi got a nice little win, which was good after the 7-match series. And again, Mina got some hot spots. People like Yuki Bito, of course, will get a pop. It's just that fucking one spot. It's that one spot, but it was a long spot.
It was drawn out because even before that, he was chasing women round the ring, and it was like this. I don't know if this is okay. It was, I will grant you, I laughed a little bit when Starlight Kid wanted to kick him but also not touch him, which okay.
It's not worth the rest of it.
It certainly isn't. It certainly isn't, and please don't think I'm vindicating it. It was a crock of horse shit. But even so, it's a shame that is what the Rumble is going to be remembered for, and it is. Ultimately, even though Unagi wins, which, again, it's weird that we had a question last week over whether Unagi should have won the Rumble that they did a couple of weeks ago, and she wins this one. But I think it won't be remembered, unfortunately, for Unagi winning it, even though it should do. It'll be remembered for that painfully awkward Kikutaro spot, which sort of sends complete mixed messages as to what they're trying to do with this. I don't understand the history between him and Nagao, if there is any history between him and Nagao. I don't understand the booking sense of even having him in there. And we've already talked more about this spot than we should do. We shouldn't be giving it the time of day because it was dog shit. But
I want my £3 back.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely worth that. Anyway, let's move on from this. Unagi wins it. I'm happy for Unagi considering she has spent the better part of 3 weeks having the living shit beaten out of her. It's a nice thing for her to do. And again, you think about how Cosmic Angels come across during this show. They've had a strong showing at Budokan. So yeah, excellent. Excellent for Unagi. Do you think she was the right winner, Chris, or would you have liked to see someone else with the winner at the end, be the winner at the end?
I don't think anyone else would have gained anything from winning this, to be honest.
No, true. I did think that Aikawa was going to win, I'll be honest. I don't know why.
I think debating over who should have won this is like when people debate over the wrong winner happening at the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. It's like you're dedicating time to thinking who should win the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Just who cares?
Yeah, fair play. Let's move on then to match 2, the first singles match on the main card, which saw Nene Takahashi defeat Momo Watanabe at 10 minutes and 21 seconds.
I just looked at my notes and I just realised how tired I was because I'm not used to getting up at 7 a.m. And in my notes I've just put Momo money, Momo problems versus watch me whip, watch me Nene, which amused me. I can do without the judgment, Robert, quite frankly.
Right. Anyway. I enjoyed this match, Chris. I thought this was really, really entertaining. Really entertaining. I enjoyed this, and I enjoyed the exchange, actually more than I enjoyed their exchange in their Seedling tag match.
Which is how it should be.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
It's incredible how often prelude matches can completely outshine the match themselves, so they just waste everything in preludes. They didn't do that here, because to be fair, they only had one prelude, and they weren't in the ring all that much for most of this. But yeah, this is basically an Unstoppable First versus Immovable Object match. Because you have like Momo, who like I keep making the Ishii comparison, but in terms of like in terms of like it's gonna sound weird, but in terms of build, in the sense of she's short but also like not tiny. Like she's short, but she has mass on it. Like I don't want to say bulky because that makes it sound like a con effect. Because she's like actually like works out, so like she has girth to her. So, but I don't know how I'm going to get out of this hole I've dug myself.
I was just going to say, Jesus, do you want a shovel, mate? Fucking hell.
No, but like, you know what I mean? In terms of like, she's like a brick wall. Like, and in terms of like, she throws a forearm and you feel it. And also in terms of like, she has the same sort of stoic personality as Ishii. Not like exactly the same, but she sort of has the same stoicness as Ishii. Like, the thing we don't talk about with Momo a lot is her emotion, because she doesn't display it a lot.
Yeah.
She's sort of stone-faced. And up against Nene, that's a good thing. Because Nene is basically Momo, but taller.
Agreed.
So it was just sort of... It was like bashing two action figures together for 10 minutes, and it was great. And I loved it. And it's one of those ones where, like, I can't really explain what happened in it. It just kind of fucked. Like, I was just kind of in a violent zen zone for the 10-minute runtime. It's sort of like the same way I felt about, say, Zeus versus Miyahara or Walter versus Dragunov, where I was just sort of really happy in a very primal way for the 10 minutes it was going. Great stuff. Also, I like the running theme with this feud where they just sort of kick out B drivers at one.
It is a good theme. I did notice that. I did note that down.
Yeah, so but like that. To be fair, I'm surprised Momo managed to fucking pull one off on Nene, considering the height difference.
It's impressive. It is impressive.
It's honestly impressive at Momo, because you look at like say Sayurida going for power slams, and you're scared for that fucking person's life when they go up. But when Momo does a B driver, which is objectively more dangerous, you're just completely fine with it because you're so good at doing them. Apart from that one time on Saya.
That one time. Jesus
Christ. But yeah, this match was great and probably delivered as much as it was ever going to in the time it was given. So I'm completely I really like this match.
Ogawa previously stated in an interview that this was going to be brutal, and he wasn't wrong. You mentioned that it wasn't tidy, was it? It wasn't a technical exchange. It's a fight between two women trying to literally knock the other out, and that was the sort of theme that was running through this match. I thought that the video packages they put before the matches were brilliant. They were simple, yet they drilled home a little bit of the history, which I thought was important. So, the last time these two faced off in, aside from that tag match at Seedling, Momo was effectively a child. And you've got then Momo trying to prove herself, whereas Nene is always going to have that disrespect of someone who is effectively, in her eyes, still that child. And it upped Momo's brutality, because Nene started by just literally not selling any offense whatsoever. And from that point, Momo just upped everything. There was an added edge to everything she did. Those double knees and the diving Samato, there was added aggression there. There was one moment where Nene misses a frog splash and hits the canvas and sort of bounces back up into a kneeling position. And Momo hits her two knees, the Meteora effectively, and just the sound it made on the back of Nene's head was fucking awful. Absolutely horrendous. But yeah, it was just a brutal, hard-hitting match. They exchanged B-drivers. I thought Momo getting the Tequila Sunrise on Nene was quite impressive, to be perfectly honest. Again, considering the height difference. But unfortunately, Takahashi is too strong, too experienced, and has seen too much for her to lose, and gets Watanabe up for, I believe it's called the EX or the X for the win. I could be wrong. I'm sure someone who is more well-versed in Seedling will correct me. But overall, it was a simple match. I did weirdly think the right person won.
Well, it depends how they go forward.
Well, actually, Chris, I'm glad you've mentioned that, because at Lone Saber on Twitter, fucking seamless, mate, seamless. At Lone Saber on Twitter, at Lone_Saber, I should say. Let's get him right. Considering the result of Budokan, which direction do you think Momo is going to take? She's on a losing streak on big events, and I can't think she can afford another one. We've mentioned this as a running theme repeatedly. She is at some point going to need that big singles win or that big cathartic moment. Where do you think that moment is coming? Because Momo on the big stage, just in recent memory now, has lost to Utami, has lost to Syuri, and has now lost to Nene. So,
and just a year ago, she lost to Maeve as well. She didn't have the best of performances in the 5-star. Well, actually, I say that she was finalist of the block, wasn't she? I still ignore that one. But yeah, this was finding. But again, I think in terms of Momo, they're not seeing her as someone. They're seeing her as someone they can just insert into the main event whenever they need a really good filler defense at this point. Again, I think we're seeing her more as an Ishii, as an Okada. If you catch my drift. So, honestly, I'm not sure when that big win's going to come. Like, I think will continuously give her good tournament performances and throw her a title match every so often. I think that's where Momo's going to be for the next wee while. Because just in terms of like we talked about this a while ago when the story came out about them wanting to emphasize personality and look. With Momo, the look's not the problem. It's the fact that people like Julia, Shuri, even like Saya, Mayu,
Micah,
like all these people who are much more expressive, much bigger personalities have come along, and that's why Momo's sort of fallen down the card. Because it's nothing to do with her in-ring ability, because in-ring ability is like observably incredible.
Definitely.
But like finding that spot. So I don't know. I might be wrong, but like I'm just in terms of seeing how they're going to book her. Because like since after the Utami thing, the losing streak has sort of not been part of her stories.
The thing is, for me, you've got to beating Momo has got to mean something. And you've said about inserting her as a filler defense, and that's fine. If that's Momo's place on the card, I'm sure that's going to annoy people, but that's how things are.
A lot of people seem to think she's going to seed, which I think is more just It's more just like wishing.
I do think she is going to get a victory over Nene at some point. I think that is probably going to be the cathartic moment for the minute. I think in terms of Stardom, though, if she is going to be that filler defense, they need to build her up so that that filler defense means something. Because if she's just going to be losing and then is inserted into a red belt program or a white belt program, it's not going to mean anything when she doesn't win it because people are going to expect it. So she does need those big wins. The problem is, you look at who Stardom are elevating at the moment, and you've already mentioned it, Chris, when we were talking about how Azumi is going to be treated in the next couple of months. That main event scene is crammed with people.
Stardom is incredibly top-heavy.
Massively so. And the problem is, Stardom seems to be trying to push everyone at the same time.
Yeah. So, that's what I'm saying. I think Momo's going to be taking a bit of a back seat. I think her position right now, because she still has that legacy from that white belt run, so I think her position right now is someone who puts people over. Which, I get, in one way is a shame, but in the other way, she's mega fucking young. It's easy to figure out with how, polished she is in ring, how young she is. She's 20 years old, Rob. She's younger than me, and was a running joke about me being the young one. So I think she'll be fine, even if she spends the whole of 2021 jobbing. I think she'll be fine.
We'll see. We'll see what's on the horizon. It's an interesting thought. We've talked about winners of the Cinderella. Neither of us have mentioned Momo. We've mentioned our early picks for the winner of the 5-star. Neither of us have picked Momo. So it might be a quiet year for Momo this year. We'll have to wait and see. I do think that eventually, at some point, she is going to get a win over Nene. Otherwise, she looks like a bit of a dweeb. But this match, in terms of this match in a bubble, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was great.
Yeah, really, really good. Really fun. You could go into this match with absolutely no context and just enjoy it.
Let's move on then to match 3 on the main card, which was the SWA Championship, Undisputed World Women's Title, let's give it its full name, match with Syuri the Champion defeating Konami at 8 minutes and 19 seconds with the White Tiger, breaking out that 4th and final submission move. Not just to placate Valkage on the Discord, but also because, Jesus Christ, holy fuck, Syuri looked amazing. That gear was incredible. Half Phoenix, half Dragon. She looked incredible.
The word Phoenix in a wrestling context has been absolutely ruined by Enzo Amore.
Oh, wow, that's that fucking ruined, isn't it?
You're welcome.
Jesus.
In terms of this match, though, I think, there's not a massive gap between us, but just looking at what I'm half remembering you rating it when we were talking about it a couple of days ago, and looking at what I've said about it on the Match of the Year thread, I think I like this a bit more than you.
Okay.
But to be fair, I'm a sucker for good grappling exchanges. I mean, I love things like Josh Barnett's Bloodsport and old UWF and UWFI stuff, and WXW Ambition stuff. Fight me. I'm saying fight me to Rob because he doesn't like it. Anyway, the match itself, it felt much more developed than the 8-minute runtime would make you think it would be. This match goes from a short grappling exchange to big bombs being thrown and shooting for submissions without ever having that massive jump, that almost jarring jump. It's just a natural escalation of a fight. And everything they do, nothing feels like it's being set up. It all feels like it naturally flows into each other which is something Shuri is very good at, and Konami's also very good at when she gets the chance to show it. But despite it, if you didn't know the story, you might see this as like a sterile, a bit of a sterile grappling exchange. But like knowing that Konami's trying to prove herself, playing, and this is just how these two wrestle. It just for what it was trying to do, I thought it was absolutely perfect. Well, not perfect because I didn't give it 5 stars, but you know what I mean. Like for the story it's playing, it's very good, and I don't get how. Like, this is what technical wrestling is, because this is actual, like, good chain wrestling. This isn't like what Okada sometimes does, where he just reaches for a limb, pretends to work it for half an hour. Like, they were actually just reaching for any opportunity to get out of it, and it was lovely. Some of the exchanges, like, some of the transitions were just absolutely glorious. It was great stuff. And then when that third bomb is thrown and they go into that sequence, you're completely into it, because just and the fact that that first bomb had to be thrown is almost a concession, which again I love. I just love. This is just my kind of thing. I just love good grappling, and this was exceptional grappling.
I like that you've said about that with the bomb being thrown, because that's something that I mentioned in my notes about how Konami didn't just want to beat Syuri. It wasn't a case of Konami just wanting to beat her. It was a case of Konami wanting to prove herself to her. And she wasn't going to do that by just, a strike exchange. It was going to be done through the submission and the grappling in that way. And, they managed, you mentioned it, Chris. You said it. They managed to cram so much into 8 minutes and 19 seconds. And knowing the history and the ins and outs of the relationship between Syuri and Konami made this such compelling viewing. The emotion crammed in, and fair play, especially from Konami, who has often been cited as a very cold character, not to the extent of a Sonata, but still quite cool. And often the emotion.
Konami actually shows emotion.
I don't think she does. Not always.
More than Sonata. If Sonata cried, he'd rust.
I did just say not to the extent of Sonata. Literally, my last phrase was, she's not quite as bad as Sonata. But no, I see what you mean. But just the little things like from throwing back to the bare feet to shooing off Tora as she went to its Syuri with a kendo stick to the anguish. Did
you see the glare she gave B when B tried to cheat for her?
When she was holding the ropes back?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. It was amazing. And the anguished cries of frustration and then desperation as Syuri repeatedly gets to the ropes. And it's just the idea of Konami being that urgent to prove to Syuri that she had eclipsed her, that she effectively sprinted eagerly into this final submission, or at least to me at least. And
no, that's the thing, because she lost because, it seems like she lost because she was too busy trying to prove how good she is, but she didn't see the obvious trap.
She's trying to win in a very specific way, and therefore Syuri is still far more experienced than Konami.
I adore stuff like that. Like stuff like it's not on the level of stuff like this, but like McGuinness versus Danielson or Dunn versus Bate, where they'll start being very technical, and then eventually they have to stop. One of them has to concede that they're not going to win that battle. This would have escalated there if Konami wasn't so fucking proud. And I kind of really like that. It's kind of a subversion of the formula you normally see going into stuff like this, and I believe that's what's gonna and it gives this feud place somewhere to go.
Yeah, agreed.
Because Konami now knows, right, I might need to do a bit more than just trying to play Syuri at their own game. I feel this could be a wonderful trilogy if they space it out well.
We are 100% seeing another installment of this.
Well, I hope 100%. So anyway. I really hope it's not one of those cases where the wrestlers just threw in the story. You know how that's especially in New Japan, where wrestlers will throw in all these layers, and then they end up going no with it because it's for what the wrestlers wanted to tell and not what New Japan wanted to tell. I hope this isn't one of those situations, because I'll be fucking heartbroken if it is.
I imagine we will get something along the lines of, we've had the 3 shows announced, which we're going to talk about after the main match. We've had the 3 shows announced, but that's only to the summer. I imagine we're going to get a winter show as well. And if we do something like, we've had this match here, which I'm not finished talking about because, you're wrong, Chris. I really enjoyed this match.
I don't really enjoyed it. But I think I rated it a bit higher than you did.
What did you give it?
4.25.
No, I gave it 4.25 as well.
Oh, we're so in sync, babe.
I'm a babe. I imagine we'll have had this match here, and then we could have Konami beating Syuri in the 5-star if they're in the same block,
Or
and
the
then
Cinderella.
Or the Cinderella. I'd prefer it in the 5-star just because of the time limit.
I think Cinderella could be a good. Well, Cinderella's a time. Like, I think because this match went 8 minutes and ruled our fucking world, right? So...
That is true.
Yeah.
We're not really used to it though in the Cinderella, though, are we?
The rule set of the Cinderella, I think, could help Konami get like an over the top win, like outsmart Syuri, and then Konami has a win over Syuri, but in her head that's not enough, and that's a good way to go forward.
Okay. Either way, a win in the tournaments that are coming, and then beats her maybe for the SWA belt when it comes to those winter shows. Maybe. That will be a good program. That'd be a really good storyline to do. Because, this isn't a case of Syuri won, therefore Konami hates her. The respect that they showed each other. Konami's literally in tears at the end of this match, not just because of the fact that she lost in the way that she lost, but also because, she's in there with her, ultimately someone she still looks up to, that person she still has that undying respect for, hence the fact that there was no Oida Tai interference in this match. And we've talked a lot about Konami, but Syuri was tremendous here. I've very rarely, if ever, seen a match where Syuri had to fight from underneath. But she almost seemed taken aback by how much Konami has grown in the intervening years, especially initially. I mean, hell, she had to break out the White Tiger, a move she had been saving that completes that Four Gods concept Syuri's been talking about. And just that in itself puts Konami over, because that's the way she had to resort to beat her. She had to bring out this move that she has been saving to put away her disciple. And that's a really, really cool story beat as well. And my only qualm about this match was the time it was given. I would have adored more time in this match.
I kind of disagree with this specific match. I think we'll get more time as other matches coming, but I think for this specific match, for the story that this match was trying to tell, this was the perfect length.
Okay, fair enough. For me personally, just another minute and a half. Just make it to that 10 minutes. That was all it needed. I'm not talking a 15-minute limit. I'm talking just a minute and a half. But, originally when I first saw it, I was like, bloody hell, that finish came from nowhere. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about it in the context of the storyline they're telling, actually, that's perfect. Because effectively, Konami got herself into that situation and then couldn't get herself back out of it again. So it worked in terms of this initial installment of what I imagine is going to be a series of matches. Overall, I thought this was great. It's another installment in the Syuri can have a good match with fucking anyone, and it's the most emotional match I've ever seen Konami have, and I think it benefited so much from that. Agreed. Let's move on then. So we both gave that 4.25 because we're so in sync. Because we're so good, Chris.
in sync. Tell me why.
Oh, God, that's not in sync. That's Backstreet Boys.
Oh, what's in sync deal?
That Bye 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 song.
Oh, it no like baby bye 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 bye. 90s boy bands are like the worst breed of boy bands, but everyone loves them anyway. It's ridiculous. Anyway, continue.
100% didn't mean sing it. Match 4 then. Mayu Iwatani defeating Yoshiko at 15 minutes and 9 seconds with the moonsault. I spoke of brutality before in the Momo match, but this match took that and said, hold my fucking beer.
Holy shit, yeah, this match fucked.
It really did. Honestly, basically, I'm gonna put over here, and both me and Chris, I know that Chris has retweeted this on Twitter. Go and check out Val Talks Puro. He did a great article on the whole arc of Yoshiko's. What was the word he used? Yoshiko's. What's it called? Redemption. That's the word I was looking for. Couldn't remember the word redemption, but it's a really good insight into where she was from that, the infamous moment in 2015 all the way through to where she is now, stepping into the ring with Mayu. I thought it's a really, really good primer for where she is coming into this match. And but the simple through line of old friends is still a simple and effective one, with one going to another land and dominating while the underling stayed and basically became the best. And it was 15 minutes of fucking brutality. It was amazing.
Couple things. One, in terms of stories, this match is an onion.
It's got layers.
It's got layers. There we go.
Sorry, and a mouthful of Coke.
It's meant to go in your nose, Robert. Anyway.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Robert Sonner, come down. Robert Sonner. Yeah, so on one hand, on like the surface level, which is basically, we can appreciate, me and Will can appreciate the other stuff, but we weren't around for Yoshiko's sort of redemption arc, be it intentional or not. So we sort of appreciate it as an Ace versus outside invader story. Like a Roha versus Mei from last year, or like basically looking at Japanese wrestling history, chances are one of the biggest angles that year in any given year is an Ace versus outsider storyline. It always fucking happens. And that only really works when you're behind your Ace. So like us two as some people who basically, because of this podcast, watch everything Stardom does, we're really behind Mei as our Ace. But if someone wasn't, I don't think we'd appreciate that side of it as much as we do. Because like I know I was, and I'm sure Rob was, because he's a bit of a fanboy, was just rooting for Mei the whole time.
Do you know what? I thought, again, you're absolutely right. It is all to do with how much you watch the promotion. And I'm not going to mention this for every match, but Meltzer has actually given ratings for everything on this show. Now, he gave this match 3 3/4 stars, which it's still a good rating.
As a complete outsider, I can see why.
Yeah. However, because he's not as invested in this match as the people that watch Stardom religiously, he's not going to get the same vibes that we got. Because
I mean, also, this match, despite the really weak build-up, and by weak build-up, I mean the complete lack of
fucking non-existence.
Like, there is about as much build-up to this as there is to like each week of Stardom cast. We mention it once and then we put it up. Basically, like, this is the Stardom cast of built, and but it still felt massive. It still felt like I say it felt like a dream match. It essentially is a dream match. Like, I know these two have probably had matches. Have they had matches before? I should check before opening my mouth. They have had matches before. No, they've had a tag match before. Okay, well, like, because it had sort of that same feel as like Moxley versus Suzuki from last year, or Kobashi versus Joe, although again not quite on the same level as that, although quite fucking close in terms of quality. Like in terms of the how exciting you are of this match just as a concept. It's basically, this match is what you tend to just do in Fire Pro. Yeah. It's like, throw Misawa versus the Great Khali, why not? And then it went the perfect length. I think this match going 20 would have been a bit much.
Agreed.
And then it was somehow enhanced by the fact that the Seedling contingent forgot to catch May.
Oh my god, never has the term suicide in a suicide dive been so appropriate.
In May's next book, I bet it's going to come out that was completely planned. That girl has she has absolutely no regard for her own neck, does she?
You can tell she was rocked as well after that. Like, she landed so fucking hard. Like,
into the barricade.
Exactly. I don't often emote while I'm watching wrestling. I'm not a big, oh my god, or anything like that. But
I am.
There were 3 moments just in this match that I did that. This was one of them, because I was like, well, that's it, she's dead. We've got no more Mayu. What the fuck? And then
the frog splash.
No, oh my god, the fucking senton, the working that Yoshiko gave Mayu's back bordered on the fucking uncomfortable at times. Just pure bull-like strength, power, and aggression. She's fucking merciless. I mean, even right at the very, very start, Mayu goes for that sort of arm drag, and Yoshiko just plants and looks at her. And you know that sort of, oh, she fucked up. Like, you just, oh my God. And effectively, what we then had was 5 minutes of that scene from Avengers where the Hulk grabs Loki and just slams him repeatedly into the fucking floor.
Just Yoshiko walking away, puny ace.
Exactly. And it made you feel so unfucking comfortable. But not only was Yoshiko's power really, really impressive, and you bought her as this absolute, basically dynamo, it's Mayu's deadweight ragdoll selling, which just added to her looking like an absolute... There was 2 sells for Yoshiko. They were fucking thumping short-arm lariats. And that was another moment that I popped for, because Mayu, I thought, how has her neck still got bones? Because she hit this lariat, and it felt like Mayu did a 720. She just, like an accordion, just folded. And you just believed that Yoshiko was just this unstoppable force. And it was like, we talked about Mayu selling in her match with Syuri and how she fought from underneath. This was something completely different. Like, Mayu didn't have a pret. The sentons, the diving sentons that Yoshiko was doing from the top rope, landing squarely on the small of Mayu's back. The back that she has, was injured less than a month ago. And you can hear the wind escape from Mayu. Like, oh my God. Oh my God.
And on the senton, some people throw sentons, especially like there's 2 sort of schools of senton. There's like Samoa Joe, where you kind of miss them and just sort of land on the mat, but like no one's really paying attention, so it's fine. Or Akira Tozawa, where you basically turn your body into a cannonball. Yoshiko sort of falls in the middle of that because she doesn't like curl up into a ball, but she also doesn't purposefully miss her opponent. She actually lands on them.
I think it's more of a case of, I'm going to launch myself into the air. You move if you don't want me to hit you.
Yeah, you know what it's like. You know that scene in The Simpsons where like Lisa's indiscriminately kicking and Bart swinging his arms. It's like, well, if you get hit, it's your fault.
It's effectively a Stan Hansen lariat.
Yeah,
is what it is.
Sort of like, it's like, well, you decide. Like, are you really going to tell me I'm not going to hit you? But that being said, Yoshiko still bumped for Mayu. Like Mayu,
oh god,
Yoshiko,
yeah.
Like you can tell these two apparently they're close outside the ring, just based on like a tweet I'm half remembering.
The tweet that Mayu put out was that without Yoshiko, she wouldn't be the wrestler she is today.
So like the sort of closeness came across in how giving Yoshiko was, because like we know a lot of giants who aren't particularly giving.
Yeah.
Within wrestling, if you go to any like local wrestling fed, the biggest, most out of shape fucker is probably the one who's going to be the least giving. It's kind like, and Yoshiko has like, especially in terms of like the Stardom roster, we sort of brought this up last week. How much like even taller the like someone like Himeka wouldn't stand out as much, I think, in ceiling as she does in Stardom.
No, agreed.
And so, like Yoshiko, in the context of that, because she's not especially tall. She's 5'3", but the way she carries herself is so much bigger than 5'3".
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, if you'd have told me she was, despite the fact like she's visibly slightly shorter than me, if you'd have told me she was 5'8", I'd believe you, just because I wouldn't have the nerve to disagree.
Yoshiko will find you.
Yeah. This match was incredible because again, there's like 3 different layers of story, and no matter what thread of that story you choose to buy into, they all work. Because it's a dream match, it's an invading the invading forces a story, and it's a redemption arc. No matter what one you buy into, it's going to work for you, and that's so rare. Like you look at. I hate to bang on New Japan, but like the most present example of this, how much narrative things they tried to throw into the evil and Naito stuff, and none of them landed. Whereas here they tried to throw in just as much narrative, and it all landed, along with what is, even with no context, an incredible match.
just without the story, the way that this match is laid out, you are actively cheering on Mayu. Her hope spots have been built so organically throughout the way they've structured this match that you can't help but cheer. There's a moment where, when she's locked in this Boston Crab and she's literally screaming in agony because they've worked the back so well. There's a moment when she's in the abdominal stretch and she literally has to use her head to get to the ropes. She just sells it so perfectly. Yoshiko sells being a badass so perfectly. She kicked out of the two-step dragon suplex. Who the fuck kicks out of that? I mean, I was like, fuck. And that's it. And it fills you with dread because you're like, well, what else does Mayu possibly have left to throw at this absolute beast? What else is there left to put her away? And she turns to a moonsault, a nod to Io Shirai to finally put down the monster, her friend, and bring a completion to that redemption arc from Yoshiko. And yeah, it's true, people are probably never going to forget what Yoshiko did. There are going
to be fair.
Absolutely, it was a horrendous thing, but there are people who are going to be able to forget it. And this match was a fantastic moment that we should just accept as a great match. Without everything that happened in 2015, we cannot just accept this match as a fucking outstanding match. Like you said, there are threads, there are storylines, but even without that, it is a standalone, tremendous match.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's going to be a rematch by the looks of it.
There is going to be a rematch. Now, after the match, there is some sort of promo. I have tried to find a translation. Usually, the Stardom website is quite good for the translations, but I can't make heads or tails of the translation of the Mayu and Yoshiko one.
We're going to have to wait for it to be released on World before we can actually get a proper sense of what was said.
Exactly. I get the impression
in
there's going to be another
we should have asked we should have asked Twitter and the Discord before we set up recording.
Maybe. I imagine Dragon Moon on Twitter probably has one, but I haven't had a chance to check it yet, so I will have a look. But the emotion in both women, you had the start of the match where Mayu offers the hand and Yoshiko just sticks a finger up at her, which is brilliant. And then post-match where, they embrace and Mayu literally mounts Yoshiko and hugs her. The emotion that is through every vein of that match is tremendous. 4 3/4 stars, Chris.
Same. I don't think it quite tops Julia versus Starlight for me, but it's one of my matches of the year.
For me, it does, and only because of the story. That's the only reason. Both are phenomenal matches, but just for me personally, the storylines going into this and basically everything that you said, that just hit home.
I think just as a Rey Mysterio kid, I just enjoy watching small people in masks get abused.
It was announced then 4 more big shows for Stardom in the calendar. So we have got the 4th of April show, which we spoke about actually on the last podcast, the Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2021 in spring show. That is a Sunday. We've then got on the 29th of May a Tokyo Dream Cinderella 2021 show, and on the 4th of July we have got the Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2021 in summer show. Stardom are going to be running the Yokohama Budokan twice, one in April and one in July.
Where's the Tokyo Dream taking place?
I don't know. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't know. I imagine it's not the Tokyo Dome. So
could be Tokyo Dome City Hall.
Is that a big venue?
Fairly, but hang on, how much did TJPW?
Yokohama Dream is about 3,000 capacity.
I mean, I don't think it's quite as big as that. So never mind.
Yeah, exactly. So I imagine, I don't know where that is. I'm sure someone will put in the Discord or the Twitter or on Twitter about where it is, but I know that the Yokohama Dreams are obviously at the Yokohama Budokan, which they ran in 2020. So again, Chris, enormous things coming from Stardom this year. The growth of this company is ridiculous as we go through. And again, same as this show, I believe that the Yokohama Dream Cinderella 2020-21 show in spring, which is on the 4th of April, that is potentially going to be available on Samurai TV again, as well as on pay-per-view.
So I've looked up the Tokyo Dome City Hall, and that's where Dash took place this year. And it was about 1,000 people, which is about what we expect from Yokohama and stuff, isn't it?
That could quite possibly be where it is then. That would make sense for me. So we'll have to wait and see. I'll have a look on the website in a little bit, and we'll talk about that. But in terms of being available on Samurai TV and pay-per-view, it's going to be readily available to people, because the way that you can watch Samurai TV through Isakura Pro is a really, really good way. It's very easy,
painless.
yeah.
That was the most painless experience about it. Like, it's actually hard to sign up to Stardom World than it is to get a 3-day subscription.
Exactly. It was really, really easy. So yeah, we highly, highly, highly recommend that way of doing things. Let's move on then, Chris, to match 5, the semi-main, which was the World of Stardom Championship match, with the champion Utami Hayashishita defeating Saya Kamatani at 15:46 with the BT Bomb. Just before we get into the match, Chris, I did just want to ask something. It was something that I meant to ask before the Momo match. All the wrestlers that come in with masks, mainly Queen's Quest, none of them were wearing masks when they came in. All of them were holding them. What did you think of that?
I didn't notice, to be honest.
Did you not? Okay.
Because half the time, when it comes to the Stardom cast, I'm cramming in the last day or two. So, like, it's rare that I end up watching the entrance. I tend to just watch the promos and then skip to the match.
Fair enough. Well, all of them came out without masks on, so that was what I wanted to ask you. But never mind. What did you think of this match, Chris?
Fuck off. This match wasn't meant to be this good. What? Don't fucking flip the script like that, Saya and Utami. Fucking Saya turning up doing her best Hayabusa impression, and fucking Utami, who just feels so much bigger in a bigger arena like the Budokan. It's ridiculous. And just, it was so good. And there was a Canadian Destroyer, and I literally shouted Destroyer, and my brother must have thought I joined the SS or something. Jesus. But oh my god, what the fuck? Why was this so good? I don't understand. Why was this good? This shouldn't have been. No, this wasn't meant to be good. I don't believe it happened. This didn't happen. There's a fucking mass conspiracy going on. We just played like a concept for a 3D Fire Pro or something, and these two. No, because no, I don't. I cannot justify in my mind that this match happened, because it was very good and it wasn't meant to be.
A lot of people had reservations about this match when it was announced. I mean, Saya herself has acknowledged the lukewarm reception that the match had been getting. And it wasn't a case of us not thinking it would be a good match. You know, I doubt that you're going to be able to put two wrestlers in Stardom together and it'd be a bad match. But they surpassed every expectation that even the most avid Saya Kamatani fan will have had for this match. There is no way anyone could have predicted just how well this match would go, how strong Saya Kamatani would look, and she absolutely flies out of the traps at Utami, who, by the way, you talk about looking like a champion, carrying yourself like a champion. She came out and just everything felt right. The rose, the red cloak, the majestic gear, the red belt, she just looked and carried herself like a champion. And I don't want to say it's the first time that she's felt like a champion, but here, I don't know what it was, she felt like the top star in the company. She just had this aura around her, and she felt like a big fucking deal.
It's the first time where it's not felt like a first title reign.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? everyone has that first title reign vibes, and Utami's reign was absolutely stinking of that until this match.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, genuinely, both women deserve credit for this match. But Utami, because Utami is going to be the in-ring general in this match. I mean, again, I put on Twitter that, mind-bogglingly, just over a year ago, these two were fighting for the Future of Stardom Championship. In February 2020, these two were fighting for the Future of Stardom Championship. And here they are for the red belt at Budokan Hall. And it was an absolute fucking banger. Nobody, not even the biggest Saya Gamatani fan, could have possibly seen that projection.
I'm a massive Utami fan. I didn't see this being as good as it was.
I'm a huge Utami fan. I love the fact that she's champion. I think she is a very good champion. But here, she felt like the big fucking deal that I'm sure Stardom wanted her to feel like. She felt incredible.
This match did more to build this match than the build did.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And do you know what? Saya Kamatani felt like a star.
Mm-hmm.
She felt like a star. I mean, she flies at Utami, like I said. Full Saya Kamatani arsenal. The springboard Hurricane Rana, a thankfully flawless tope on Hero, as though we ever doubted it.
After the two she's already thrown, I did doubt would be a flaw. A Destroyer, again, what the fuck? Like, it's so weird, because, like, literally any other time a Destroyer comes out of nowhere, me and you groan. Because everywhere else they're just so overused, but you never see... There's not been one Destroyer in the whole of fucking Stardom in the time we've been watching. So, just... It was surprising, like, someone... Like, a Destroyer gets pulled out in, like, an AEW match. Of course it did. It's AEW. It's basically PWG, but weekly. But here, like, no. But when's the last time you saw a Destroyer in Stardom?
You're 100% correct. I've never seen one. And we talked about how is Saya going to escalate her offense. She talked about how she's going to introduce new moves. And, you know, we were a little bit reticent to think, well, you know, how is she going to top this when it comes to this show? You know, she's going to introduce something, but how is it going to top, you know, the fucking Phoenix Splash or whatever? And yet, she breaks this out, and it was so smooth and flawless.
In that moment, I thought she won the belt. I was like, there's no way they're pulling out a Destroyer and not putting the belt on her.
It was tremendous. She finally does get the Star Crusher off, which she'd been fighting to do for the match. She gets it off, but because of the accumulation, because in any power exchange, Utami was winning, and she beat and ground Saya down. Saya eventually hits the Star Crusher, but she takes so long, she can't get the pinfall. And she effectively just flops onto Utami, and Utami can kick out, so it's still protecting that finish. She goes for the Phoenix Splash, eats canvas, so Utami goes, right, I'm having this. BT Bomb into a reverse Rana pinfall, and the most tremendous 2 count.
So
I
close.
looked at it, I rewound it 3 times. Because I was like, that was 3. That had to be 3. And it wasn't. It was perfect.
You know, in like Fire Pro, when it goes 2.9, it was that. It was like a 2.99999. It was fucking ridiculous.
I have always said that the closest 2 count I've ever seen was the G1 Climax final this year between Sonada and Ibushi. It was a tremendous near fall.
It was the only good part about that match.
This was unreal. And I, like I said, I had to rewind it 3 times and just go, how has that not finished that match? We said in the build-up to this match, Chris, that even though Saya had been built, you know, mathematically she'd been built well. You know, in a wins and losses sort of realm, she's been built okay.
But none of those victories felt, with the exception of the fluke one against Utami, none of them felt big.
None of them felt big, and we said before, there's not a chance she's walking away with this belt. She just isn't coming out of All-Star Dream Cinderella with this red belt. And you forgot all of that in this match. All of it. She hits the Star Crusher and you think, fucking hell, they actually... No. she gets this Rana off and has Utami rolled up. You're like, no. And you think it's going to happen because both women put on this genuine fucking masterclass. And you just look at it and go, you summed it up at the start. This match wasn't supposed to be this good. And fair play to both. Saya Kamitani is elevated massively because of this. And do you know what? Well done, Stardom. Because when they first announced that the red belt match at the biggest Stardom show ever was going to be Utami versus Saya, there was a lot of discontent. There was a lot of people going, really? I mean, we'd talked about it before and how we'd said this has got to be, the red belt's got to be a big match, maybe a Mayu versus Utami rematch, or maybe they'll do belt versus belt in Julia versus Utami. And then when they surprised us with, actually, we're going with Saya Kamitani, who has only been wrestling for just over a year, and it's going to be the red belt match. And we all went, really? That's bold? And fucking hell, did they justify their choice with this match? Because everyone I have seen has said this match was fantastic and outsurpassed their expectations for it. After the match, B. Priestley challenges for the red belt after screaming, "Get off my fucking mic cable," which was legitimately quite funny.
Okay, so I don't dislike Bea Priestley as much as a lot of people do, but I hate her promos. I fucking hate. There's one promo I like of hers, and it was that "No People Gate." Otherwise, her promos can fuck off. Because she keeps, I understand why she's doing it, but she keeps dropping random Japanese phrases in an English promo, and it's like, I don't know if you're too old to have weebs in when you're at school. But there was this one weeb in our school, and she kept dropping random fucking Japanese phrases, and everyone hated her. Because that's annoying. It's really fucking annoying.
Who knows enough Japanese in Scotland to drop random Japanese words into a conversation?
Let me tell you, it's fucking weird in a Scottish accent. It's really weird. I've never heard someone say fucking senpai like they're gonna fucking headbutt you. It's ridiculous.
Go on, try and do it in a Glaswegian accent.
I can't do a Glaswegian accent. You're cruel for trying to make me do one.
People don't think you're from Scotland.
I've even put it in my Twitter description, like Scottish, even if I don't sound like it.
I noticed that. I was like, it's a shame that he's had to feel the need to put that.
Oh yeah, because when Forrest Silver invited me onto a stream, he just called me British. I'm like, oh, that's an insult. I'm Scottish. He's like, you don't sound it. It's like, I know. I fucking know.
B validates her challenge by saying that Utami has just beaten the person for the belt that had never beaten her. Suddenly validating the draw with Saya on the Coric and Valentine show, I suppose.
Not really though. Not really. There's other ways you could have had this challenge.
B's challenge has been met with some apathy.
I think it's because people thought it was going to be Nene.
No, you thought it was going to be Nene.
I think it's a case of have you been watching WandaVision? You're
going to have to be very careful here not to post spoilers.
Oh no, I'm not going to put spoilers. But basically, what I'm saying is, because I think actually a better example might be All In, where people were putting along so many random mad matches like fucking CM Punk versus Kenny Omega, whatever. And then when that didn't happen, people were disappointed with the card. I think that's kind of what this is, where people just built it up so much. It's going to be Nene, it's going to be someone big, and it was B. And honestly, again, B's fine. It's not quite as annoying as when Sanada came down at Wrestle Kingdom, which was just fuck off Sanada.
The most anticlimactic challenge.
Yeah, so I don't mind the B thing because it's going to be at the end of the day, it's probably going to be a filler defense anyway. Because I think a lot of these are just getting Itami's numbers up.
I mean, here the B match has been basically announced for the Yokohama Budokan show, and you can imagine that this is going to be the main event of that show.
But also, B has a victory over Utami when B was champion, so there's good symmetry going on there.
Yeah,
especially since Utami's faced a lot of the same people B has, like she's faced Momo and stuff. So like there's a nice wee bit of symmetry going on there. Like I think it all makes sense. Like it's not an out of nowhere challenge. B Priestley has literally nothing else to do. So I'm fine with it. It's not the most exciting prospect, but not every title match can be exciting. I don't think this is going to be a trilogy. It's just going to be one match. So this isn't like when I'm really bashing Sonata today. This isn't like when Sonata went for Okada fucking 4 times in 2019. So
yeah, no, I get that. I think it is only going to be one defense. It is slightly anticlimactic, I suppose. I did call this, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
I'd have been really smug if it wasn't A.
Yeah, you would have been. I know you would. You'd have been completely. Oh, yeah, you would.
Remember when I clean swept Mania weekend for predictions?
You did. It was quite impressive.
It was really impressive.
Overall, I think it will be fine. I think the match will be good. Again, Stardom have shown that, we should trust them a little bit. I'm sure this will be fine. There's not a chance B is taking the belt here.
Yeah, they've proven that we should trust them in terms of match quality. It's always at least good.
Yeah.
With booking, that's a bit more debatable, but this is. I can understand where people are not let down, but understand how this wouldn't meet people's expectations, but this isn't bad.
No. In terms of the match that we've just seen, I gave it 4.5. I thought it was absolutely tremendous.
Okay, 4.5 as well. Fucking great. I hope Sayabusa continues to go from strength to strength.
That was my next question, actually. I was going to ask you, where does Saya Kamatani go from here? We talked about this before. I think we had a question on a podcast a couple of episodes ago. And I think we both sort of felt that for now, doing what they did with Ahimika after she challenged for the white belt, putting her in the tag division, something like that is fine for now. And then being able to have this tap on the shoulder, something like that. I mean, she could go for the SWA against Suri. I don't think that's a terrible idea.
It's just, I think I said this when this is last brought up, it's just how Stardom Book will elevate someone for a tournament, put them back into the mid-card until they need it again, until they want to give them a sustained push. That's just kind of how Stardom Book. So in terms of where Sai goes from here, probably random tags for the next couple of months, because that's just how Stardom do things. And
I think as well, on top of that, Chris, they know she can go when asked, and that's really important.
This match basically served as a trial to see how she'd do in a big match, and it also served as basically, as I've been saying for weeks, a statement of we push our younger talent.
Exactly. And that's what they did with Micah at the 10th anniversary show. Just can they perform when given the nod in these high-profile matches? Saya certainly more, because it was in Budokan in front of 3,000 people, but I think both women have done tremendously well, and we've got a roster of people now where, if you consider as well, Starlight Kid got the nod for the white belt match, knocked it out of the park. Azumi got the nod for the SWA match, knocked it out of the park.
I don't think there's a single person on the roster who hasn't had a match for one of the top 3 belts all year, apart from maybe Def.
Saki.
Taking out Def and Saki. Oh, she even got a non-title match that fucking no people gave. That was cold.
I know.
That was fucking cold. Jesus Christ.
Bless her. Let's move on then to the main event. The Wonder of Stardom Championship, with Tam Nakano finally winning her first singles championship, defeating Julia at 18 minutes and 57 seconds with the Twilight Dream. We've talked about drama, we've talked about emotion, and this match was full of both. I thought this match was a tremendous blow-off to the feud that these two have had. It's full circle for Tam. It tied off the storyline. It was the correct result. I saw people moaning, even the day of Budokan, about how the white belt shouldn't be main eventing this show.
It's main evented before.
Well, just think about, for a minute, emotion. Just from an emotion and drama standpoint, this was the match to headline. It's a hair versus hair match.
Even, and also even, say for some reason we managed to find more people for May for the next couple of months. No one on the roster has, now that Kagetsu's gone, and now I'm sure he's been gone for a few years now. No one on the roster really has that with May, where like they could have justified the emotion of a main event.
No.
So, like, it's not a case of they're disrespecting the red belt. It's a case of they went with where the story is. And like other promotions do it over. Like honestly, I think that's sort of a non-issue because these two, like the white belt's a proven main event belt, and this is the tastiest story on the Stardom card right now. These two.
Yeah, 100%.
This is literally the end of a year-long story arc. So, like, it's one of those moments. Like, and the last time that one of these moments happened would have been, for me, Naito and Okada, where one person had to win, and you were rooting for that person for the whole match. So, I don't see I honestly don't see the issue with this at all. Headlining.
No.
For the match itself, though, absolute clusterfuck. Like they threw a lot in this match. Like there was a table spot 5 minutes in, and that was apparently a nod to Kira Hokuto because Hokuto was shouting "Dangerous Queen" when it happened. That's kind of cool, I guess. But like otherwise, it felt a tad unnecessary. Otherwise, it was kind of just. I want to kind of say the Momo and Nene match, but longer, where we were just sort of bombing each other for the whole time. Which makes sense. That's literally what this feud's been built off of. With the exception of that 28-minute random match. But otherwise, yeah, and Tam pulling out starting a screwdriver.
Oh my god! The fuck did that screwdriver come from?
I know! It wasn't even like built up. Like, you know how sometimes they like tease a move, it's like, no, they're not going to do this. I just thought it was going to be a suplex to set up a top rope move or something. But no, it was a fucking screwdriver.
I mean, not only that, Chris, she tried to use the glorious driver.
Yeah, which was impressive strength given. How tall is Tam? She's like observably not big. How tall is she? 5'2". That's tiny. And Julia is like taller than Garth. No, she's only 5'4". But Julia's only 5'4". Wow.
Despite the fact that I can understand where you thought this was a clusterfuck. I understand that, but this match was still great. This match still rocked.
The clusterfuck was part of the appeal here.
Yeah,
this is a grudge match. This is a grudge match. You wouldn't want a 25-minute. You wouldn't want Shiri versus Konami here.
No.
This is exactly what this match had to be, and it was very good, very very good.
We did speak about how this match can't go over 20 because of the brutality that is inherently going to come with this match, and it didn't. It touched. I think it was 18 and a half minutes.
It was just approaching 19. It was 18 minutes 57, and that's a good length. I'd argue it could have been a tad shorter, but you know what? That's splitting hairs at that point. But like again, the brutality here was great. It helped put over the desperation in the entrances. Tam's face put over how scared she was beautifully.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous how much expression she had in a stoic face. Like, because during the whole of Julia's entrance, which again, Julia's theme really put over the entrance.
Yeah.
And also there was like Julia's entrance was like one shot. Like it was like a long shot. That's fucking ridiculous. Fucking mad direction in this match. It was great. But like you could just see Tam in the background, close to fucking tears, whereas Julia's just dicking about. Amazing stuff. But yeah, like in terms of this match, it's another one where I can't quite articulate moments more than I can just say it fucked. And which is annoying when I'm attempting to be a critic. Because in one hand, if I was to criticize this match, it was a tad overindulgent, but also this is a year-long feud. It'd be weird if it wasn't overindulgent. It was just very good. In terms of ratings, for me, it's below Mayu and Utami Saya, but quite frankly, I don't know what it could have done to gone higher. it was an incredibly good, incredibly solid clusterfuck match, and just incredible stuff.
You get the impression throughout this match that Julia hasn't prepared for it in the same way Tam's prepared for it.
No, not at all. It's like the same sort of thing it's the same dynamic the early Okada Tanahashi matches had.
Exactly. You have got a Julia who currently feels untouchable, and you can tell from matches that she's had that she needs to be in control, and when she's not in control, she panics. You look at the Starlight Kid match where Starlight had wrestled control away from her and she turned nasty. And you look here and there was points where Julia was in control. That initial spell where Julia basically just beat Tam pillar to post, put her through a table with a fucking pile driver, kicked 7 shades of shit out of her. You get the impression that she was in control, she was cocky, she was arrogant. But the difference between this and the Starlight match, once Tam wrestled control away from Julia couldn't get it back. And that was why Tam won. Tam was able to stay in control and one step ahead of Julia, throw things at Julia that she hadn't seen before. The Steiner screwdriver, the reversal out of the Glorious Driver into a Destino. What the fuck was that? That was incredible.
I literally shouted Destino. Like Kevin Kelly's started infecting me.
I just loved it. I really enjoyed it. And then on top of that, you've got Tam trying to beat Julia with her own move. And you just get the impression that everything behind Tam drove her to beat Julia in this match. Tam had so much more to gain from the victory than Julia did. And, you've got the whole full circle storyline for Tam going into this. That whole, she started wanting the white belt to basically as a tribute to Arisa, her friend who had to retire. She then lost out to Julia, who beat her again and again and again. She's had to put her hair on the line, which she's gone on record saying she goes to the salon and spends 200 quid on it. She does it 3 times a month or something daft. So her hair does mean... I know. When was the last time you spent 200 quid on your hair, Chris?
I've never spent 200 quid on my hair. Like, I once tried to cut it. To be fair, I once had to shave my whole beard off because I can't be trusted to cut it myself. But I find the cheapest possible. Like, if I can get my mum to cut it, that's the ideal because I don't need to pay her a fucking penny. But otherwise, no, I don't spend money on my hair. My hair's just naturally beautiful.
And you know what? I didn't hate, post-match, Tam hits Julia with the Twilight Dream, a move we haven't seen Tam break out in a long, long time. Basically, it's a modified Tiger Suplex, effectively.
It's a move that means a lot to her. She used it to put away Kagetsu, which was the last time a Tam match felt this big.
Exactly. But then post-match, the relief, the emotion in Tam's voice, the way she carries herself.
I know,
Julia just completely unable to get up. She's surrounded by DDM, who have all got belts. She's the only one without a belt, and she's there on the mat, not getting up, and she is crying. The emotion from both women in this post-match was tremendous.
Tam looked like a teenager on results day. It was ridiculous.
It looked for a brief moment, in The Dark Now where the Joker says, "I'm like a dog with a car, I wouldn't have any idea what to do with it once I got it." And you get that impression with Tam. I've been chasing the white belt for so long. Oh my god, I actually have it now.
Shit,
what do I do now?
Do I eat it? No, it's not made of chocolate. The only problem with the post-match really was they had to rush it. Because a combination of matches going long meant, because I remember being very confused about it at the time until Velkage was like, yeah, they had to get the fuck out of there. It's like, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then they shaved the rest of the backstage. By the way, have you seen that Photoshop where they put Minoru Suzuki's head on Julia?
It's a tremendous Photoshop. Fair play to the person who's done that. That's amazing. Well done.
That is a seamless Photoshop, and honestly, if Julie started taking that direction, Bold Julie is going to be great. But I have a feeling I'm going to be slightly disappointed by Bold Julia just because of how much I've been building it up for the past month.
You have done nothing but fucking talk about it. It is amazing.
Bold people are overtaking wrestling, Rob. I wouldn't be surprised if Garth walked into Red Pro and won their title. But yeah, like honestly, the post match was a bit of a weird one to end on, just because of how rushed it wound up being.
Yeah, which you can't really blame Tam or Julia for.
No, that's no one's fault. But well, it's not really anyone's fault. Things just naturally go long. Maybe whoever planned out the matches should have taken more of that into account. But yeah, just Graham, what did you give this match, by the way?
I was torn between 4.25 and 4.5.
Well, I thought it was like textbook 4.25. So.
I've given it. Do you know what? I'm going to give it 4.5 just because I'm an emotion drama whore. I loved everything about it. I really did. I thought it was a really, really good way to end this feud. The fact that Julia finally showed that grudging respect to Tam. Tam not being able to shave the head of Julia. I know that pissed Julia off, which was quite funny. But I thought it worked with Tam's character. You know, she's finally got to this point, and ultimately she's got what she wanted now. She doesn't need to be the one shaving the head of Julia. She knows it's going to happen. She's done what she needed to do. She's ascended to the top of that mountain that she's been fucking climbing for what seems like years, finally getting that first solo singles belt. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't need to do anything more. And then obviously there's a bit where as Julia's standing there being shaved by the hairdresser, Tam stops him to say, "I can't believe it, she looks cooler than me," which made the entire of Budokan laugh, which was amazing.
Julia does she does suit the bald look, didn't she?
I'm not going to lie, when she had I was saying this to, I think it was Niagara Driver on the Discord, I was watching this happen, and obviously Julia only had half a head shave during the actual show and then had the rest done in a backstage promo. But she had half a head shaved, and it's basically the look I go for, and I go and get it paid. I actually pay money to have it looking like that, and Julia looked cooler than me. So, you know, I think she's going to be absolutely fine. I think this could be an interesting redemption story arc for Julia now. Effectively, she has been humbled.
The fallen god.
But, do you know what? I'd be more than up for that. And actually, it plays into...
She's 4.
It plays into the card that has been announced, actually, for Korakuen as we record tomorrow. So I'm going to preview that card in a moment.
Before we get to that, have you seen Arisa's tweet that she put out after Tam won?
I've got it open in front of me. Basically, Arisa put out a tweet after this had happened, which Chris retweeted, saying that he was crying, which I think is more than fair.
I specifically said I wasn't crying.
It's fine, man. Just accept it. It's fine. It's an emotional time.
It was fucking hay fever.
In March, in Scotland, on the coast.
Like, it's very pollen heavy. That's what causes hay fever, right? You're pollen heavy.
So Arisa posted 3 pictures of her and Tam together and said, "The big reason I have to be proud was that Tam finally got the white belt. It was great for me. She has always supported me. Thank you and congratulations from the bottom of my heart." Which is a really considering the whole thing was a tribute to Arisa and we finally got there. It's amazing. It's a beautiful tie-off, and I think this perfectly vindicated being the main event, because there's no way you can do this. You can have the drama of someone being shaved and then follow it with another match. In my personal opinion, with stakes like this, you then can't do this and then expect Utami and Saya to follow it, or expect Mayu and Yoshiko to follow it. I think this was the perfect, dramatic conclusion to this Budokan show. Personally, that's my own personal opinion. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where if something did follow, even like if something followed this segment, it would be like half of Manias where we tried to make the world title main event even when there was an obvious main event happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those. So yeah, can't top this really. I don't like, again, despite it not being a match of the year, this is definitely like a moment of the year. This one.
Oh yeah, 100%. And
just lovely. But I love that Meltzer's giving it 4.5. Like, I don't talk about Meltzer a lot just because I get bored of Meltzer talk if you spend more than a week on Twitter. But what I do like about Meltzer, I've noticed this as a pattern where if he dips into a promotion and really likes a match but doesn't know anything, but doesn't really follow the promotion, he always gives it 4.5. Always. With the exception of when he dropped into Noah last year.
Overall, Chris, this match was tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
If I cannot see any show topping this from the
you don't
opening...
see Fastlane topping this?
Yes, I can see Fastlane topping this.
Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns. I'm not even joking, that could be fucking incredible.
Aside from the Rumble, which we're not going to talk about anymore because we've spoken enough about it, aside from that, every match delivered. I mean, from the high-speed title match to Momo versus Nene to the emotion in Konami and Suri, the flat-out fucking banger that was Mayu versus Yoshiko, the surprise match that was Utami and Saya putting on an absolute clinic and just an incredible match, and then the drama of Tam versus Julia. Everyone had something in this on this show. Sorry,
and also as a lot more big wrestling, especially like the marquee favorites of NXT and New Japan, veer towards formula. This stands out.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
Even like in All Japan, you have this problem, but especially like you look at NXT and New Japan, it's almost like we have a checklist where every match has a set off. Like if this was, if this same setup of a card was a New Japan card, you'd be exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah,
you'd be absolutely exhausted. But like again, all top 5 matches made my match of the year, Fred, but all of them are distinctly fucking different.
Yeah.
And that's amazingly increasing clarity on cards nowadays, where so much of the undercard just feels the fucking same.
And I think as well, for me, this isn't just show of the year in Stardom. This is show of the year, full stop. Both of us said this had the hype that I wasn't feeling for Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, the production values on this show were tremendous, which helped it feel like an enormous event. The little touches of it made it feel tremendous. The camera work was immaculate, apart from in the All-Star Rumble where they missed some of the eliminations, but that's fine, because how the fuck do you follow that? The commentary was great. It added to the emotion. Every wrestler's attire looked tremendous. Just everything about this show felt like it was a Wrestle Kingdom, a WrestleMania, that sort of standard of show. And again, I cannot see anything topping this year, for me personally.
No, me neither. But again, it's because it's the promotion we follow. I'm actually curious if this is anyone's first Stardom show, what they thought of it.
Absolutely. Let us know on Twitter or join our Discord and tell us there. We'd love to hear it from you. Let's look then ahead to what is going on in the world of Stardom, aside from the Budokan show. So we're obviously now on the road to the Yokohama Dream Cinderella on the 4th of April from Yokohama Budokan, and we start that road on the 7th at Korakuen Hall, which we've already spoken about. So the card has been announced for that show, Chris, and I'm going to read it through to you now. So we open with singles match Julia versus Gokiken Death, because Julia has basically requested to start at the very beginning again, which I personally think is a great little storyline beat.
It's like that Mark Sampson, lose the hair, go to the bottom.
Exactly.
Am I going to get in trouble for calling a biblical character a Mark?
Yes, I'd steer away from it. We've got singles action then, Konami versus Lady C. We've then got elimination tag which is the next Artist of Stardom title match challenge. So it's basically a number one contendership match between the Queen's Quest team of Saya, Azumi, and Momo, the DDM team of Himeka, Natsupoi, and Maika, and the Oedo Tai team of Ruaka, Saki, and Natsukatora, which they are 100% winning, and you'll see why in a minute. We've then got a three-way battle between Utami, Shiori, and B. Priestley, which is going to be very tasty. I think that will be a very, very good match. And then the main event is the Artist of Stardom Championship match with the champions Cosmic Angels, Mina Shirakawa, Tam Nakano, and Unagi, putting the belts on the line against Mayu, Starlight Kid, and Saya Iida. Now, Chris, we talked before about how Mayu has got 3 open feuds. She's beaten Yoshiko. For me, personally, this is how I see this panning out, and tell me if I'm wrong, okay? We've got a question, actually, about where Tam goes from here, which I want to get to in a moment. But for me, Stars take the belts here. Mayu pins Tam.
Tasty.
We've then got Stars versus Oedo Tai for the Artist's belt, which makes sense in their context for the storyline. We've then got Mayu challenging Tam for the white belt.
So you think this is basically like maintenance to make sure that there's past both of Mayu's feuds because they forgot to... that everyone should only have one feud going. You know what Mayu's like right now? Remember when Kevin Owens back in 2015 had 5 feuds going on at the same time with Joe, Sami Zayn, John Cena, Finn Balor, and Kenta?
He was not a well-liked man. Not only that, Chris, but, and this is something that was talked about on Discord and also in @ValTalksPuro, here's Tam Nakano article about how it's really important that Tam gets the victory over Mayu. And I think if you have Tam versus Mayu at that Yokohama Cinderella show, which immediately makes that card look fucking great, and have Tam beat Mayu, that definitive win over Mayu that she hasn't had, instantly cements that title reign. Instantly. So that's where I think we're going with that. I'd be very surprised if we don't end up with Tam versus Mayu on the Yokohama Cinderella in spring card. Aside from obviously the Artist's belt as the as it looks like it's the main event on here. I don't know whether it will be, but it probably will be. Are there any matches that stand out to you, Chris?
No, it just looks like another solid card.
The next Korakuen show is the 26th. So in terms of where we go, in terms of Stardom, we've got the 7th, which is a Korakuen. The 13th at Shinkiba First Ring, Shinjuku Face on the 14th, and then we have got another Korakuen on the 26th after some one at Sendai Pit on the 21st. So we've got 2 Korakuens before April. So there we are. Let's talk then about some questions, Chris. Let's go and have a look at some of these. So, Velkage, your old friend on the Discord, which apparently you're having a feud with, I don't know if he knows. Should the red belt match or Mayu vs Yoshiko match have main evented over the white belt match? I think both of us have said no to that, haven't we?
Yeah, no, that's resounding. Go with where the story is.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it matters particularly whether it's the red belt, so therefore the red belt's on top. If the storyline leads you there, I think everyone was invested in that white belt match. I don't think the red belt match suffered at all from not being in the main event. If anything, we've glorified the red belt match and both belts feel huge, so I don't think that's an issue whatsoever. Have you, not Chris, because Chris hates fun rumbles, enjoyed the rumble? This is also from Velkage. Have you been able to follow along, or have you got lost? I think we also spoke about the rumble, really. It was a nod to the future and to the past of the Joshi wrestling in Stardom, but that Kikutaro bit really, really soured the rumble for me, and the fact that it went on so long was really, really, really quite annoying.
You know why it went on so long? Because of the inherentness of the stipulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your help out? Not having a Rumble. They suck.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Niagara Driver, what's your general take on wrestlers feeling different at these arena shows versus a place like Korakuen? I think some people get a big boost in their general aura and star power, Utami in particular. Chris, let you answer that one first.
Well, I did actually say in the Saya versus Utami review that Utami feels much bigger in a bigger arena.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't think she suits being a Korakuen champion.
I think even though Korakuen is a venue steeped in history, and it's an enormous wrestling venue, not in terms of size, but in terms of history and everything that's gone on there. When you put someone in a venue like this, the production values and just everything we spoke about at the end of the review, someone like Utami feels huge. Syuri felt huge. Julia felt massive. And I don't really know what it is. Maybe it is the production values. Maybe it is the camera work. I don't know. They just felt enormous. Effectively, you look at a Korakuen and they're basically coming through a door and just walking. There's no real pomp and circumstance there. You look at Shinjuku Face and they're just coming through a curtain or a door or something like that. And you look at the All-Star Cinderella show, even the Sendai Cinderella show, which I shit all over, or the Yokohama Cinderella show. The bigger venues with the better production values and things like that, it just adds to certain wrestlers' auras. And I don't know what it is, but I agree with you completely. Utami felt massive in terms of star power. And is there anything else there? No, we've got one more question on Twitter then it was the first part of at Lone Saber's question. So if I just get that back up for you. Here we go. And the question is, what do you think on factions numbers with DDM and Awida Tai at 5 members, Stars at 5, 6 with Kiona, Cosmic Angels at 3, 4 as soon as Lady C joins up, and Queen's Quest at 4s? Don't you think Stardom needs some numbers for smaller factions? What do you think about
that? But it's a weird one because you don't want them to be bloated. I think how they had it before, where we had random outsiders coming in and out of a faction. I think that's the perfect way to do it. There's just no way to do that right now. So I think literally we're just going to see this problem completely dissipate as soon as Travel's a thing again, and hopefully soon.
Yeah, because you will have certain members of...
Yeah, because you had like Viper was in Queen's Quest. Obviously she won't be coming back, but like
Layla Hirsch.
Yeah, a lot of people would just be adopted by Stars because Mayu doesn't know how to say no. You had Sash and Moth, who I'm missing more by the day. Yes. I literally think this is just going to be a problem that's going to go away when we have the revolving door of outside talent coming back.
Yeah. Agreed, because they've got to go somewhere, these outside talents. Obviously, Jamie Hayter is going to come back and go to Awida Tai, assuming she doesn't sign with NXT UK. So that's another member of Awida Tai. I'd be very sad. I miss Jamie. I think Jamie's great. Don't forget as well
that NXT UK still exists.
Well, yeah. You've got Hina, who obviously is still to come back to Queen's Quest. You've got... But then, obviously, like we've said, you've got the Gaijins who are going to come in. You've got people who just do tours with them. So, potentially, you won't see as many. I know that people are, we have seen quite a lot of matchups that feel samey. And especially on the Road 2 shows, we see a lot of variations of a theme. The same things over and over again. But again, let's judge this once travel restrictions are down and we've got more of an idea of what they're going to do in that respect.
I don't like using COVID as an excuse because it gets used too easily to like forgive things that have nothing to do with COVID. Like it's been used to forgive the evil storyline, which had dick all to do with COVID, and it's been used to excuse the the booking of the Champions Carnival, which again would have been affected by COVID, but like it didn't have to be dog shit. But this is literally just a problem that is throwing a spanner into how Stardom works. There's only so many people they can like financially have signed.
I was just going to say, so are you telling me that's not the case? Right, okay, so you do agree with me, you're just saying
no,
it shouldn't be.
I'm
Right,
just trying
okay.
to preface, I don't think we should use COVID for every issue Stardom has had, because Stardom isn't been free of issues.
No, of course
it's
it
just
hasn't.
This particular issue is because of COVID.
Yeah, travel issues is inherently because of COVID. There's nothing they can do about that whatsoever. And this was a question from last week that we didn't actually get to because our podcast ran obscenely long, from @TylerWilliamsYT on Twitter. What do you see the direction of the main event scene in Stardom going after this? One of their biggest shows ever. Many companies tend to fall into a pit of being empty after a grand show. What does a post-All-Star Stardom look like to you? I'll throw that to you first, Chris.
It is going to be smaller. They're going to go for the smaller scale stuff after this, because they basically just completely these long stories that have been running since at least New Year End Year Climax have just come to an end. So we are going to see smaller, with the exception of maybe May going in, probably going in the direction of tying up her 500,000 feud she has going on. Everything's gonna calm down for a little bit while stories develop, and then we'll see stories coming more and more. But come more to a head during the summer. So I think now until maybe May, it's going to be a bit quieter for Stardom, despite bigger shows coming up are going to be smaller scale. We're basically going to be what Coricans were in 2019, 2018.
I think on top of what you've said, though, we've got to remember that they've got the Cinderella tournament, they've got the 5-star, but they've also in fairly recent times, it's the 6th of March as on this podcast, and on the 4th, in less than a month, they've got Yokohama Cinderella, which is in the Yokohama Budokan, which was one of their biggest shows of last year. So we've got that. We've got the Tokyo Cinderella, which is in May. We've got another Yokohama Budokan in July.
Yeah, I'm not saying big things aren't coming. I'm just saying we're going to be a lot calmer now.
Yeah, of course, because we were building to the biggest show in Stardom's history.
You're not going to be having a year to 3 month builds for the matches coming up, is what I'm saying.
No, and you're not going to have those story-driven events, like Mayu versus Yoshiko and things like that. But I think if this had happened last year, and, COVID obviously off the table, if this had happened last year, and then you are just looking at Coricans over and over and over and over and over, then you could say, well, it's going to be a little bit quieter. And I do still think it's going to be quieter, like you mentioned, Chris, but we've still got 3 at least big shows to come. And these are bigger shows in terms of attendance and therefore in feel, especially if they're going to be on pay-per-view on Samurai TV, where the production values are going to be inherently better. It is going to feel huge. Potentially the feuds aren't going to feel as big because they won't have had as long to build, but even so. And then on top of this, the chances are we are going to have, if they've done a Yokohama in spring and a Yokohama in summer, the chances are we're going to have a Yokohama in fall or a Yokohama in winter just to tie it all off. And then I imagine they will run Osaka again, like they did last year.
It's going to really annoy you if they don't do that, isn't it?
It's for the completionist in me, yeah, it's going to fuck me off. Or if they do a winter and not a fall one, it's really going to wind me up. My OCD will kick off at that, but never mind. Final thing, Chris, and this is just a little bit of fancy booking, a little bit of completionist. Val talks Puro again, that his Tam Nakano article, please go and check that out, it's fantastic. He talks about Konami being the one to unseat Tam for the white belt and goes into great detail about why that should happen. So please, if you haven't already, go and check that out. It's really, really good. Looking at some of the belts going forward. So let's talk red belt, white belt, SWA. Just those 3 for now. What do you see as the next challenges for those? Where do you see them going? Effectively, who is going to challenge for the red belt and who is going to take it off Utami? For you, let's start with the red belt.
Utami, who's going to take it off him? I don't know, because it's been seemingly random for the past few. It went from Tony Storm to Kagetsu to Mayu to Utami, like to be previously somewhere in the middle. There's not really been story build up to people winning it, but they just kind of have.
Yeah, that is true. That is
So
true.
in terms of a red belt, I honestly could not fucking tell you. In terms of a white belt, it's going to be something story driven. I wouldn't be surprised if Julia fought back up for the white belt. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the story beat they went with. I wouldn't, again, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mayu. I wouldn't be surprised if Mayu took the loss personally and then started chasing it just to keep her up a red belt steam for a while. In terms of the SWA belt, I think Shuri's going to hold it. Either Shuri's going to hold it, and I think that's the more natural drop for Konami, personally. But, is that, or she'll just hold it until we can have the revolving doors of foreigners again. I think Shuri's, because honestly, who if Konami wins it, who the fuck can she defend it against? Which isn't going to happen, or maybe Julia, who's above the belt.
In terms of Tam's white belt reign, do you think we are going to see a longer reign, like a Momo and Arisa, or even a Julia? Or do you think this is going to be a short transitional reign?
Somewhere in the middle. I don't think we're going to have the year-long reign that Arisa or Momo had, but I don't think it's going to be... I think it's going to be like a Julia length, like 6 months.
Okay.
Like 6 months, 4 to 6 defenses. And yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. Like, no one has their best title, with the exception of Arisa, actually. No one really has their best title run on their first title run.
No, that's true. That's true. For me personally, I mean, like, you're looking at Julia. She's starting from the bottom up. You know, that whole redemption thing. It would make sense for that redemption thing to end, like I've said, with her winning the 5-star and then challenging Utami and beating Utami. Because, again, we are going to end up with Julia as Red Belt champion at some point, and I think that makes sense. I think in terms of Red Belt challenges in the meantime, Azumi is the only one, except for Hina, out of Queen's Quest that hasn't had the title opportunity, so it wouldn't surprise me if, after Yokohama Budokan, Azumi is the one to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Run the Queen's Quest gambit.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Queen's Quest gambit. Hey. I love that. I'm just going to put up with that show. It's fucking good. It's really good. Watch it.
I think Tam beats Mayu. I don't think Mayu needs the white belt, to be perfectly honest. Give it to someone else. You know, let her challenge for it. Absolutely. I don't think she wins it. I'm more open to the idea of her and Starlight winning the Goddesses of Stardom championships myself.
Mm-hmm. I think that's because a lot of people on the roster if they were going for the white belt would feel like, for example, if Starlight was to go for it, since Cosmic Angels and Stars are still kind of feuding, that would make sense. But like, I think the more enriching narrative would be for her to beat Julia for it, because Julia basically humiliated her in the last defense. So, like, in terms of like, the path that Valve's put out is really good, a really compelling path. But also, if I was booking it, I'm not sure it would. If I was booking Stardom, I'd have Konami wrapped up in the SWA all year,
and then have her that culmination.
Yeah, because at that point, a great feud elevates the belt. It elevates Konami. It elevates Shuri. Like, if it was basically any other Stardom landscape, I would agree with that. But like in the current Stardom landscape, I don't quite agree. But also, I don't know who would be. I can't think like But in terms of like how satisfying would be when we finally get the belt, nothing's going to top Tam winning it here. So in terms of who could beat her, I don't know.
In terms of the SWA, I don't really know who has Shuri got left that doesn't feel above the belt. I mean, she hasn't. I can't see Julia challenging for it. Technically, she already has challenged for it. I can't see Mayu challenging for it. So you're looking at maybe a Starlight Kid.
Maybe Jungle when she comes back.
I think Jungle has to win a singles title when she comes back.
I think our perception of ours and like the fans' perception of Jungle is much higher than Stardom's perception of Jungle. You know what I mean? It's still the Ishii situation.
Yeah, I mean, an amazing story would be if you take what Val has spoken about and say Konami gets that vindication and beats Tam for the white belt. The natural progression there is for Konami to then drop it to Jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So from that standpoint, that would be very, very good. And then maybe one of the white belt defenses is against Yuri and Konami gets the victory there. So it doesn't have to necessarily be the SWA belt.
The belt means as much to us as it does. Like, it basically means the same to us as it does to the wrestlers of the company, which is why things like the 6-man title in New Japan go for periods when no one fucking cares, because no one fucking cares. And so, like, the Jungle and Konami story, if Shuri has fought tooth and nail for that SWA belt all year, it's going to be just as enriching with Jungle coming and taking it.
The only problem is Jungle can't challenge for the SWA belt if Konami.
Oh, she can't, can she? Oh, you're fucking right.
That's why I went with the white belt.
That gimmick is so good when you can have people coming in and out.
Yeah, it is. It does sort of hamstring you when you've only got Japanese talent on your roster, or primarily Japanese talent on your roster.
But at the same time, when it was a revolving door of outsiders, you kept having lesser talent going for the belt. So it's a fucking catch-22, that, isn't it?
It is. It is. We'll need to wait and see. We'll need to wait and see if some of the rules are dropped from that belt. We'll have to wait and see.
Brookie's Stardom Championship is just going to be extended, so it's 10 years in the business.
It just anyone can challenge for the future. It doesn't matter. Just anyone.
Have you wrestled?
Right, let's wrap it up then, Chris. Thank you so much for listening, guys. We really, really do appreciate it. If you do listen to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and a comment. It really, really does help the podcast out. Helps us with exposure to other people. So please go and do that. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We are literally everywhere. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. You can find us at any place. Check out the website www.podmania.co.uk for all our archived episodes, as well as all our match ratings and reviews and everything else that goes on at the site. You can find us on Twitter at the StardomCast. Chris, where can they find you?
At Quizlos Puro.
And I've
memorized it. Are you proud of me?
You have. I am really proud of you. Well done, mate. You can find me at Real Rob Goodwin. We'll be back next week as we start the road to Yokohama Cinderella in spring 2021. But until then, we will see you guys again soon.